A YouTuber named Junked Up Kitten and his friends are exploring an old county jail. They take a video camera with them so that they can make a parody of the Ghost Hunters television series. Little did the small group know that on this night they would accidentally capture actual evidence of real ghosts. Junked Up Kitten wanders around the property with the camera close to his face while narrating. He passes by an ordinary looking jail cell window and doesn't think much of it at the time. When he goes back to review the footage later, he makes a startling discovery in the window. It looks like his parody show has turned out to be the real thing. From the other side of the glass, the colorless reflection of a man's face stares at him. You can clearly see the outline of the ghost's brow, nose, and empty eyes. His head is cocked to the right, almost as if he is sizing up a newcomer. His mouth appears to be a thin, expressionless line. If anything, the ghost has incredible timing. Right when Junked Up Kitten says that he is looking for evidence of ghosts, one just happens to show up in the window. It's almost as if the ghost was trying to make its presence known. Perhaps it was even trying to get a hold of someone who could free it from its miserable cell. Hey, if you like videos like this, then be sure to subscribe to my new Chills Clips channel. Whether you're looking for a quick 3-minute chills video to watch or an hour-long clips compilation, you can find it all on Chills Clips. Be sure to check it out by using the link in the description, and if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Something is buried in the debris of this house. Published by Proving Demons in December of 2021, these paranormal explorers couldn't last the whole night in this very haunted house. Immediately upon entering, they see that this house houses some strange stuff. They soon start to hear creepy noises as well.
I know, so just stick close to me. Shh. What was that about?
They also think they hear walking upstairs.
Yo, is there somebody in here?
As they're looking up the stairs, they start to hear a woman's voice humming. They don't encounter whatever is making the noise, but later as they're about to use a paranormal device, they hear another strange sound. A second sound follows as they're trying to make their way through all the garbage to leave.
Just come with me.
They manage to get out of the place, and maybe just in time. Anthony Choi is a UFO investigator who has been looking for UFO activity in Peru for the last 25 years. For decades, it had seemed like the aliens were always one step ahead of him, but one summer night, while hunting for humanoids near a gas station in Pachacamac, Peru, Anthony finally captured one of them on his cell phone.
Se está escapando de nosotros.
Grábalo, sí, está caminando, grábalo.
A la mierda, está dando espinitas, es algo.
The blue being vaguely has a human outline. Look closely and you can make out its arms and legs as it glides across the street. It looks like it is made out of pure energy. Whatever the technology is, it comes with one special life-saving trick, teleportation. The humanoid stops in the road just as a freight truck comes barreling its way at about 70 miles per hour. It looks like the strange blue visitor is about to get flattened, but then it suddenly disappears and materializes behind the vehicle like magic. It keeps crossing the street while Anthony watches with his crew in disbelief.
Cálmate.
Me paralizó ahí.
Sí, es una persona, es un globo.
No, estaba caminando.
Está caminando. El globo estaba caminando.
Estaba caminando, esa verdad.
The fact that it stops in the middle of a busy road suggests that this thing is not familiar with our highway traffic rules. Even though it is probably not from this earth, it appears to be well experienced and capable of adapting to new dangers. It continues to cross 3 more lanes and teleports straight through another truck with ease. Anthony and his team of investigators say that the creature was about 3 feet tall with red eyes and a head that was shaped like a pumpkin. As the video shows, they were too overjoyed at the thought of discovering extraterrestrial life to be afraid. It is a video that Anthony will not fear, but instead cherish forever. A YouTuber named Dylan HD decides to explore an abandoned house with some friends. The home still has some furnishings, including a wall full of creepy paintings of children. The far end of the house is completely dark, and they are hesitant to explore this section. Finally, one of them bravely goes into the darkened corner and comes back shaken. He announces someone is looking at them through the window. Pay attention to the thin beam of light behind him during this clip, because that's the window he's referring to.
Just someone was at the window.
Act.
Someone was at the window.
Was.
It's gone really bright. Is the window after all? No, it's the same.
The thin beam of light silently extinguishes as the window is closed by whoever was on the other side. It's important to note that all three friends were close together when this happened. One could be seen on tape, the second was holding the camera, and the third could be heard directly to their right. The trio runs screaming out of the house and never looks back. Nature can be beautiful. It can also be gruesome. Published by Rex Schaller in July of 2019, these unhappy campers had some fearsome creatures stalking their campground at night. The scary footage shows a man peeking his head outside his tent, only to spy an enormous lion creeping past. He quickly re-zips the tent flap, turns off the light, and lays flat inside the tent. This seems to alert another lioness, who leaps through the ropes of the tent area, while the big lion calmly looks on. The pair of lions stalk past the tents. The lion paces back and forth, eager for their meal to be plated, while the lioness reclines, waiting patiently. After a moment, another massive lion shows up. For some reason, one of the campers keeps peeking his head out of the tent, which disturbs the big lion, who manages to knock the roof's cover down over the tent flap. The lions continue to stalk them, even pawing at the tent aggressively and pulling on the poles with its massive claws. The lion grows more and more aggravated and aggressive. Finally, the pair appear to become bored and wander off into the night. Many in the comments say these campers were lucky the lions were only curious, not hungry. Others note how the zipper somehow gave them a sense of security, when that was probably never the case. One thing's for sure though, these unhappy campers didn't get a wink of sleep that night. Hina Tahir and her sister are camping in New Jersey's Double Trouble State Park when they notice a strange woman who is half submerged in a local lake. Her clothes are all white, and she has a serious expression on her face as she sways in place. To this very day, the two girls aren't sure if what they recorded was a live person or a ghost. If it was a person, then I have absolutely no idea why they would be in the water, well fully clothed, and if it was a ghost, then maybe her body is lurking in the shadow waters below. Whatever the case may be, Hina and her sister decide to leave the woman in peace and dare not go any closer. If you've ever worked night security, human activity is likely the most you've ever had to worry about. Working security in India is another story, published by World of Wildlife and More in January of 2018. This security guard couldn't believe his eyes when he encountered a big cat roaming the Mumbai neighborhood at night. Captured at nearly 1 in the morning, the security guard is seen sitting on a plastic chair, probably trying his best to keep awake. The street is quiet. Just as the car approaches, so does an enormous leopard. The big cat looks like he's aiming toward the guard, but as he sees the car's light, the leopard rushes across the street instead and leaps up and out of sight. Wrapped in a blanket, the security guard goes to check it out, likely thinking he dozed off and was imagining things. After looking for the cat for a moment, the security guard walks off camera and returns with a big stick. The video ends before viewers see if he was forced to use it, but hopefully the leopard didn't stick around. The man was lucky the car showed up just in time. He could have been that leopard's lunch. This public official in Costa Rica is in the middle of a press release when a small wasp buzzes all around his face. The man is caught up with his speech and he doesn't notice it until he accidentally takes the wasp into his mouth.
Los debates naturales que hay en una zona tan importante como esta, que sin embargo me la comí.
A member of the media sees the whole thing and her facial expression changes to anxiety as she puts her hand to her mouth in surprise, clearly waiting for him to scream. You can see the wasp has a tiny stinger that could deal a lot of pain to the soft tissue of the mouth or gums. I'm amazed that he didn't get stung, or if he did, he played it off well. Athlete Chad is finishing up a camping trip with his family in Rexburg, Idaho, when he notices a large bear approaching his motorhome without fear. Soon it rears up on its hind legs to get a better look at what's inside the camper.
Oh yeah.
Whoa!
Hey, hey, hey.
No, he's riding the thing down!
Hey, no.
He's taking
She's
No, he'll rip it off!
Take it out.
The YouTuber and his family managed to get away unharmed, but the teeth marks on their side view mirror will always remind them they came face to face with a wild animal in the woods. Named Craig Wilson was doing some home repairs when he noticed a small hole in his backyard. He opened it up a little more and was shocked at what he found waiting down below.
This hole goes down, down, down to a giant cavern.
It's a gigantic earthen cavern extending a full 16 feet straight down. Craig wonders out loud if this was natural or man-made. As he continues to videotape from a dizzying height, Craig quickly had the hole filled the next day, but he'll never forget about the huge underground threat that was once threatening his home. He and his wife think that it was probably a well, about 60 or 70 years ago, but they aren't positive. I'm just relieved that the hole didn't widen while he was standing over the edge. Downright Dives is a 3-man team of dumpster divers who go through the trash looking for discarded valuables. They comb through a series of dumpsters without incident, mostly coming across old rotten food. They're searching through the last couple of dumpsters when one of them makes a startling discovery.
No. Moved in there, guys. Guys, moved in there. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking.
Neither of his two friends believe that there could have been somebody lying at the bottom of the dumpster. They just have to take a closer look for themselves.
That box right there just moved. I'm not even joking. That one. Oh, no. Go.
The camera doesn't get a clean shot, but you can hear a man pop up from underneath the boxes and screams that he owns everything inside of the dumpster. According to the description, it was a homeless man who continued to come after them and even got into a physical altercation off camera. I'm on the fence with this one since we never get a chance to see the homeless person in question. Also, living in a dumpster is a stereotype about homeless people that is rarely true, so this encounter is very unlikely. Let me know if you agree. While exploring a military bunker in Britain, these ghost hunters may have made contact with the passed on. Published by Ghost Tech Paranormal Investigations in November of 2021, this investigation turns up frights galore. As the pair first tries to communicate with the spirits, something is lurking behind them.
Was that hard on you? And
Heard that.
so did I.
They then hear scraping footsteps and deep breathing.
I can hear tapping, scraping. What's that?
They hear noises behind and in front of them.
There's noise coming from down behind us. Behind me. Again, I heard noise, but this time it was from in front of me.
While they continue to try and communicate, the cameraman notices something moving at the end of the tunnel and zooming in captures what he believes to be a figure in the doorway. Later, they've also captured the partial apparition of what they think is a female phantom positioned behind a GoPro set up in another room. Did these investigators indeed capture some true paranormal entities? Maybe the souls of the soldiers who lost their lives in this bunker never left.
That's scary.
Emma is too afraid to come into her parents' room because she says she can see a bad man in there with them. When her mother asks to point where the person is, she indicates that it's in a dark closet which is open. The mother examines the closet. She doesn't see anything, but she seems to get an uneasy feeling that matches her daughter's emotions.
What, baby? Want daddy? Okay, go get daddy.
The child turns around and freezes. She is too afraid to move without her mother following closely behind her. There's something about this video that seems very dark and genuine. Obviously, the mother felt a presence too, or she would have not uploaded this video with the title of 2-year-old girl sees ghost again. Overall, more information is needed before I make a final judgment, but let me know if you think Emma was seeing something that her parents could not on that night. Zayneo barely manages to turn his live stream on and say hello before something unexplainably paranormal happens behind him. The window somehow goes from being tightly shut to wide open in less than 10 seconds without a sound. If I'm not mistaken, this type of window doesn't even open from the outside, meaning that somebody had to be standing in the room to even push it open. Zayneo quickly searches his house in less than a minute and finds no one else is home, but when he crosses into the living room, the batteries in his smoke alarm go off for no reason at all. I know this part is real because this is the first time you hear the smoke alarm beep in the entire video.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Smoke alarm malfunction?
The smoke alarm going off, combined with the window opening by itself, is enough to convince me that this is probably paranormal. A YouTuber named Sean Wells 2001 is convinced that something unholy is lurking in his attic late at night. It always starts with a weird static sound, almost like an industrial fan, even though nothing is plugged in. Sean leaves the camera on overnight to see what happens. The mechanical humming sound doesn't go away, and then at 3 a.m., new disturbances are heard. And if you are wondering why Sean doesn't go up there and see what it is for himself, here's why. There's no way a raccoon or any other creature would have enough strength or intelligence to lift up the attic door like that. So Sean's video is either 100% paranormal or just a prank. Let me know which one you think it is, because I really can't tell for sure. Ethan Menard and his friend are out exploring when they find a long tunnel that gives off a creepy vibe when they are commenting on how dark the tunnel is and just trying to keep calm in general, when suddenly a small child's voice chimes in somewhere behind them.
It's like pitch black in here.
The timing of this creepy small voice is quite a curious and morbid coincidence. It simply says hello at just the right moment during a pause in their conversation.
It's like pitch black in here.
Whether this was real or edited is up for you to decide, but I think there is a strong chance that something paranormal was down there. Two school custodians are standing in the middle of a creepy old boiler room. One of them is the supervisor, and he was called in after his coworker said that she saw objects moving around on their own. He records the situation for legal workplace reasons, and the two of them reluctantly investigate.
All right, hang on, just wait.
I don't want to go back there.
Let me just take a look. Now, you say what happened now?
The door shut by itself. Itself, Dave.
All right.
The supervisor doesn't see anything out of the ordinary, and he reassures his coworker that everything is okay. He encourages her to go deeper into the boiler room and get something that she needs, and that's when things go wrong.
Is there anybody back here? Go ahead.
No.
What's that? Oh my.
A metallic chair scrapes towards them on its own and they both fall back. I guess the supervisor could have pulled on a string, but I think the chair moves a farther distance than he would have been able to pull judging from where he was standing. This rare footage of a possible ghost ship made waves over the internet back in 2010. Everyone thought it was a paranormal sighting at sea, but it actually turned out to be a rare mirage caused by changes in air temperature. Apparently, when the water cools off, the air temperature just right, it sometimes can make ships look like they are floating. This is called the Fata Morgana's effect. I'd really appreciate it if someone in the comments section could leave a more detailed scientific explanation to help us better understand this strange phenomenon. Jacob Vetter, who published this drone footage in May of 2015, claims that this, quote, crazy lady, unquote, was doing, quote, weird stuff, unquote, on his porch. In the video, you can indeed see someone on the porch. When she spots the drone above, she does as most people do on this list have done. She tries to knock the drone out of the sky. First, she uses a stick. That doesn't go over so well. Then she tries plush dice. That doesn't work either. Next, she is seen swinging what appears to be a black purse, but she doesn't throw it. Instead, she puts it on and leaves the yard, but paces back and forth waywardly on the sidewalk. It's uncertain what she's waiting for, if she's waiting for anything at all. Finally, she gets on her bike that's been parked on the sidewalk all along, and she takes off rather clumsily, circling around in the yard, then jutting out right into the road. What exactly is going on here? Because I have no idea at all. I will say it's certainly bizarre though, but the biggest question is, what was she doing on this guy's porch in the first place? Tasty Pickle is the name of a YouTuber who has been having a strange house problem. Time and time again, he goes outside only to see a figure in the window. Despite there being no one in the room, there seems to be no rhyme or reason as to why this happens. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. He shows that no one is hiding in the room, and then goes outside to see if he can capture the elusive figure on camera.
Holy there's actually a figure today. I actually got it on tape, no way.
The sun kind of gets in the way, but look closely at the top window and you'll see a very faint outline in the center. It almost looks gray and formless. You can see it a lot better here.
Wow. Holy. Okay, alright.
Give me your best guess as to what you think this could be, paranormal or otherwise. A group of Bigfoot hunters are searching for clues deep in the woods when they come across something ominous glowing in the clear night sky.
Oh my goodness. See? Oh. 3. And in a different position.
3 orbs appear to form a mysterious triangular pattern off in the distance. Every once in a while, the light on top gets extremely bright and then fades away. They can't figure out what these lights are, and I'm not quite sure either. Tell me if you think this was an alien sighting, or maybe even some sort of experimental aircraft. All I know is that if these bizarre lights really are a regular occurrence around these woods, then maybe the idea of Bigfoot isn't so far-fetched after all. Caitlin McIntyre is making a video of her grandpa that she wants to remember for the rest of her life, which actually might be shorter than she thinks. It may seem like nothing bad could ever happen to them on such a perfectly sunny day, but to their immediate right is a sharp drop straight off a cliff. They hit a point where the curved road grows very narrow, just as the sun beats down on their car at the worst possible angle, turning the entire windshield into nothing but a blinding white glare. Grandpa does his best to stay on the road, but the sun is so intense that not even his oversized sunglasses can get the glare out of his eyes. They find some brief cover under the trees, and they can see that the road is too narrow to safely turn around. You can tell he doesn't want to keep going, but it's too late now and there is no other choice. He has to go back into the blinding sunlight and keep pushing forward just a little bit more until he can make this turn.
Maybe there's something up ahead.
He only has a short distance to go before he can turn around, but he almost manages to drive completely off the cliff instead.
It's starting to get a little worried.
I can't even see. Where am I?
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Just to give you a better idea at how close they were to falling off, this is a brief glimpse of the side of the cliff. You can see he was still turning right and had to majorly correct the steering wheel to avoid tumbling below. Eventually, Caitlin gets out of the car and guides her grandfather to safety. You can still see that the sun is still totally in his eyes, and it's a small miracle they made it out of there alive. In the winter of 2012, this YouTuber was almost a goner when a mother black bear decided to charge at him, not once but twice. Speed shooter XT was hunting in this Oregon forest when he encountered some bears nearby and began filming. The bear starts off by keeping her distance, but ultimately begins charging in his direction. The most scary part of this entire video is the look on the mama bear's face when she begins approaching, played in slow motion. The man managed to scare the bear away by being loud, and shortly after, she charges towards him again before the video ends. Luckily, this YouTuber got away safely, considering black bears can run up to 40 miles per hour. So if the bear did chase him, he wouldn't have standed a chance. When a YouTuber named Aqua Chigger stumbles across a fallen tree, something compels him to take a look inside. He immediately spots an unusual fragment in the freshly upturned earth.
Weird. What do you think?
This prompts him to look inside of the hole. He doesn't see anything else at first, but then...
Ooh, what's that? Stuff might just have gotten real, guys.
It's a piece of green fabric that Aqua Chigger hopes is just a tent. When he finds buttons, however, he knows that this is somebody's blouse. He finds some more remains and turns them over and over again, trying to determine if they are human or not. He notes that they are right by the highway, and even says that police found a different body in a creek not too far from here. He eventually finds the jaw of a deer and some other scattered animal remains, so he decides not to call the police. Even if this was just animal remains, it still doesn't explain the fabric he found, nor does it explain how a couple of other bones look like they possibly could have belonged to a human. Let me know what you think this was, and if you think he came across something that should have been reported. Desertify Urbex is a British YouTube channel that explores abandoned places that may or may not be haunted. This time he ventures into an old abandoned crypt that has fallen into disrepair. He easily gains access through the wide open door and immediately finds pieces of caskets that have been smashed open and apparently looted long ago. Profane is the only word he can use to describe how the situation felt, as if he had no right to be here, disturbing this sacred place yet again. At one point he picks up and handles what could be a bone, though it could also just be a gray piece of rubble. It's hard to tell for sure. Later on, he finds a large plot of land that has also been dug up by grave robbers. He even sees the large rock they used to smash open the casket before grabbing whatever they were after inside. They were probably just looking to take jewelry and other valuables, but who knows, maybe they wanted to take something even more personal and a whole lot worse. Randy Doss claims to live in a haunted house and offers this video evidence for proof.
I dare you to slam that door.
They start recording this video after the door opens all by itself, at which point they try to get the spirit to do something else, and with that said, the ghost seemingly takes up the challenge. Watch the crack in the door and you'll see there's absolutely nobody on the other side.
No.
Just for the record, it's only Nick and I here.
Just when the door almost slams shut, this happens.
Oh my god, no! Oh my god!
Whoa.
The obvious answer is that there is a child standing on the other side of the door, but look again. There appears to be nothing more than an empty sleeve, and more importantly, it doesn't make contact with the door at all. This makes me think that whatever forced the door open could have also rustled the nearby jacket too. Marcus Webb has been feeling a presence in his house and decides to start recording. A white specter passing by is what he claims to find. I'm not sure if this is a dusty cobweb or something truly paranormal. All I know is that Marcus felt like he was not alone. and the camera verified that something moved nearby, which is definitely a creepy coincidence. Carter is making a YouTube video to show off his expensive new roof, but he accidentally catches something lurking inside his home during the process.
That's right. New roof. Shingles were delivered today. Old roof was torn off yesterday. New roof will be put on tomorrow. 6,000.
A giant, oversized face is staring directly at Carter. Through his own window on the left-hand side, you can see its eyes, mouth, and nose have been shaded perfectly to form a ghoulish expression. I've watched this video many times, and I still can't tell if this is truly the face of a ghastly creature, or just a reflection of trees outside. If it is a reflection of a tree, then I find it weird how the leaves or branches don't seem to be moving at all. It really does look like an unblinking face staring straight ahead. Carter does not seem to notice and continues filming for quite some time. This footage comes from Vietnam, where all sorts of strange creatures are rumored to still roam free through the wild and unconquered forests. This stuffed humanoid in particular has been deceased for quite some time, possibly for decades, and now looks discolored and slowly falling apart. It appears to be half man, half snake. Long blonde hair grows from its human-like head, which is furry all over yet also covered in straw blonde facial hair. Two rodent-like arms stick out from its fur-covered upper body. Its face looks like a cross between a man and an ape. The nose looks like it belongs to a primate, but the gray lifeless eyes and smirking mouth look like they could belong to a person. Its scaly lower half looks exactly like a snake's. Watching this thing in action must have been a terrible and shocking sight. How such a creature could come to be is unexplainable, yet here it is. Perhaps there are even more of them out in the wild. A group of British friends are playing catch in a courtyard when one of them sees something strange and points it out to the others. The camera follows his gaze and stops on a pale face looking at them from high above. The sickly person looks at them for a second longer before silently slipping out of view. The group is now creeped out and wants to know who has been spying on them this whole time. They tell the property manager about the face they saw in the window, but she says that it's impossible. The room they are talking about has been locked and unoccupied for quite some time. The manager goes up with them to unlock the door and show them around. They try and find the person, but the place is completely empty. There's no way anyone could have been up there, yet the camera obviously says differently. The mysterious peeper has never been identified. A man at work accidentally locks himself in a large attic. He's trying to open the door when he hears a strange noise and decides to start recording. He thinks out loud that it could be a rat or a pipe as he cautiously continues to film.
I'm getting kind of a spooky vibe up here. Right there. There it is again.
Soon he realizes that the strange thump is coming from the very top of some steps that he has never seen before. He climbs the steps and suddenly feels like he is no longer alone.
Hello?
Apparently, he was right.
Whoa!
Something clatters to the ground and sends him running down the steps. I'm not sure how he managed to get out, but when he did, I'm sure he was glad he had plenty of video evidence to back up his claims. Mountain lions are known to stalk their victims. Published in September of 2014, YouTuber Sophia Zhang wrote, during Chris's 2014 summer mountain biking adventure, a mountain lion stalked him, and in this video, you can see how he handled the hungry mountain lion in the wilderness near Fernie, BC. In the video, a man is standing in a clearing with some tall brush, trees all around, and a dirt path. He claims there's a mountain lion in the vicinity, but for the first couple minutes, you have to take his word for it, because the animal is completely camouflaged. But at the 2-minute mark, you catch the lion creeping towards the man who is shooting the video. At least it's creeping at first, then it starts walking, and as it closes in, the man scurries backwards for a moment, then he turns around and the lion is just standing there in the path, looking calmly at him. He starts talking to the lion also calmly. He tells the lion that he's much bigger than him, and the lion doesn't care. He creeps into some bushes, and you can hear him growling, as the guy now shouts "Go!" The lion just creeps around the other side until he's in full view again. He stares the guy down, seemingly unintimidated by him, but the guy turns around and tells him to stay back, saying, "I'm not afraid of you." The lion then just turns around carelessly and plods away. Just another day in the forest. These brave scientists are tracking the spread of Ebola by testing local bat colonies in the African Congo. You would think that they wouldn't want to find any traces of Ebola, but it's actually the exact opposite. They're hoping to follow the infected bats back to the source of Ebola to eradicate it once and for all. It's about 3 a.m. and they have hours of testing to do in the middle of the night before they can get any rest. They have to stay awake and alert at all times. Any one of the bats could be contaminated, and all it would take is a single bite or a direct transmission of fluids to cause the next human outbreak. They hose themselves down with a special medical spray and take other precautions, but I can't help but notice they have a lot of exposed skin, particularly around the neck. If one of the bats lands on that area and sinks their teeth in, it could start another epidemic. All I know is that if I'm in the middle of an area known for Ebola, you better believe I want every square inch fully covered. Papa Jake is returning to a haunted sewer tunnel that he explored once before. But this time it's 3 a.m. He and his friends think that a large sewer creature might be down there, so they bring a lot of extra equipment, like motion sensors and night vision, to capture it on video. Their first encounter happens not in the tunnel itself, but rather in the surrounding woods.
Something's in the nest! Something's in the nest! Something is in the nest!
What appears to be some type of humanoid creature scampers across the forest floor on all fours. Only one of the two friends see it, so I guess he manages to convince himself that it was nothing, and they continue to press on. A short while later, they finally locate the tunnel. They are very deep inside when a strange and haunting moan convinces them to get out of there fast.
Oh Jesus, what was that? What was that?
The noise is coming from the same direction they just came from, so Papa Jake and his friend try to outrun the creature at a fast pace, taking blind turn after blind turn for a full 5 minutes. It isn't long before they find themselves wandering down an oversized pipe, completely lost. Whatever is chasing them, on the other hand, apparently knows every last twist and turn of this labyrinthian cesspit and finds them quickly. At this point, they all stopped recording to run for their lives. Papa Jake now feels he has sufficient evidence of the rake, and I doubt he will ever go back there. As always, be sure to let me know if you think this is real or not based on what you've seen. Their reactions all seem very genuine, but there's always the possibility of special effects. This video was supposedly taken by a robotic camera while surveying an old oil tanker. A school of fish briefly swims in front of the camera, and suddenly one of the fish gets nailed by a spear in front of the camera. Something fast swims by to collect the fish shortly after. Many people believe that this video demonstrates the possibility of some kind of advanced sea creature who uses tools to hunt. After all, there's no reason for a person to be this far underwater hunting with a spear, and whatever moves in front of the camera is too fast to be a person. Of course, the obvious answer is CGI, but I would love to get your thoughts. This 2-minute video shows a random lunatic losing his mind in a room full of nothing but trash. The way he makes noises to himself and slaps at the wall is enough to give anyone anxiety. The room is so disgusting that I think only someone with real problems would be down here. When he stops thrashing around long enough to talk, his voice sounds childlike and distant. It sounds like he's crawling on his hands and knees saying it's too long during this part, whatever that means.
Tutorial.
David Whitehurst is piloting his drone over the neighborhood when all of a sudden a much smaller white object nearly collides with him at a far greater rate of speed. David doesn't know what this fast-moving object is, And honestly, neither do I. Give me your best guess and let's solve this perplexing video together. A YouTuber named Lawrence Ryan takes off his shirt and throws it over a shelf. A while later, he returns to the area and now finds the discarded piece of laundry has somehow shifted into a face. This shift continues before his very eyes until Lawrence grabs a camera to document the paranormal event. The shirt takes the appearance of a grinning demonic face who is looking down and to the left. If you don't see it yet, you soon will. The transformation is not yet fully complete. The camera goes out of focus very briefly as Lawrence struggles to zoom in while walking closer. And when the camera corrects itself and comes back into play, the face is changed again. Pause at 1 minute and 47 seconds into the video, and you will see it now has a very deep, ceased brow, a sharp angular nose, and a strange expression that looks like a cross between a frown and a smirk. I really don't see how any of this is possible, but then again, if it's fake, then I don't know how they did it either. The shirt is hanging from a shelf and should not hold any form at all. If they tried to somehow fold it into the shape of a face, I don't think it would stay like that for long. This video comes from 2009. A YouTuber named Lullier has been experiencing strange paranormal encounters for as long as he can remember and decides to document them one night as proof. He's crossing through a room when suddenly he sees a blank face peering at him from a doorway. This has apparently happened to him before and he flings open the door. Nothing's inside. Just like all the times before, he shuts the door and the face reappears. Look closely and you'll see a hand reach for him as well. He grabs the camera and looks inside the room a second time. No one is in there and this noise is all that he finds. Imagine you're in the ocean, surfing, and you spot in front of you the gray fins of something huge. John Hershey published this video of a sneaky great white shark in December of 2015. If you watch the video in full, you mainly see the surface of the video interspersed with some slight dips just beneath the surface. The water is green and the shore is not far beyond where Hershey is lying on top of his surfboard. But as the 30-second mark approaches, a gray shape appears moments later, a dorsal fin, and at the 39-second mark, pause it just right, and you can see a brilliant red eye. Remember, Hershey is on a surfboard, nothing but a thin veneer of safety, made of polystyrene foam, remains between him and the jaws of the great white. Hershey was surfing in Santa Cruz, California at the time. Whatever the case, it makes you wonder why anyone would dare put a toe in that water. Whoever shot this footage claims to have been filming back in 2008. They were exploring an abandoned house and decided to start filming after hearing a strange noise. It's a very short clip since it wasn't long before they were running out of the house screaming. Reviewing the footage again, you can clearly see that this is not an ordinary forest creature. Its front legs bend inwards as it runs, kind of like a human running on all fours. It doesn't appear to have much of a face, yet it can somehow make a terrifying scream. The humanoid appears to be ready for the cameraman as soon as he opens the door. It approaches aggressively, but also with a hint of caution, for it rushes at the cameraman at only half speed. It also doesn't seem to pursue him when he starts running, which means it's probably just claiming its territory and wants to be left alone. The YouTuber who uploaded this video says that this is not their only encounter with the creature. Another time they were exploring the abandoned house with a friend and a knife. They peer into the house from the front yard and listen for any signs of the creature inside. They don't hear anything, so they decide to go further in to investigate. That's when they hear its disturbing warning cries. It sounds like a mix between a squealing pig and some sort of enraged dinosaur. The two quickly turn off their flashlights and remain quiet in the dark. Then they slowly get up and start sneaking away, but just when they think they are safe.
The heck is that?
Oh, shoot, go! Shoot, shoot! Just get out of the house. Get out of the house. Just get back to the house. Just get back to the house. Jesus Christ.
They run back full speed to their nearby home. When they review the footage, they vow to go back to the property the next day with guns, but they never got the courage to follow through. Since the monster never chased them in either video, perhaps it was just as uncertain of them as they were of it. YouTuber Trevor Heasley published this clip in August of 2016. The footage was on the set of Postcards, a 2008 Pasadena City College student film. He'd taken it during the film shoot at the Metropolitan State Mental Hospital. Although the cast and crew heard a lot of ruckus during filming, they didn't see anything unusual. That is, until Trevor got his camera home and watched the footage back. The abandoned state mental hospital appears quite eerie in the footage, darkened windows on a hot summer day. The footage involves lots of close-ups and long shots of the area, including some gags with the cast. Everyone seems to be having a good time on the shoot, but will what happened next haunt them? During the shoot of one scene, the vapor-thin figure of a ghost appears to be walking across the hallway right before two of the cast. Apparently completely unaware of what just crossed their path, come running through. Okay, so it probably won't haunt them, being as they weren't even aware of what was happening before their own very eyes. That is, unless the spirit somehow inhabited one of them. I think we need to follow up with the cast and crew of Postcards, and maybe then we can solve this scary mystery. Australian Survival School is a YouTube channel documenting what it's like to live in the Big Down Under. In today's lesson, what should be a simple joyride gets stalled by a large and potentially dangerous discovery that's all too common in Australia.
Get out my car!
The brave man pulls with all of his strength and finally dislodges the massive reptile from its hiding spot. Let me know what kind of snake this is and if it's venomous or not. That way, we'll know how risky this man's maneuver really was. Published in June of 2008 by Damian Black, the shadow people of Emerson County are caught on video causing havoc in the forest. According to Damian in his description, the first reports of these creatures occurred in 1957. In his own words, in August of 1997, roughly 2 miles from where original reports originated, a video camera was found and turned into local authorities. What they saw on the old tape was scary, mysterious, and remains unexplained to this day. The video shows some grainy footage in the forest. At first, there's just trees and brush, but after a moment, the cameraman says he's heard something moving. Zooming in, you can vaguely see that something, a translucent form of a figure as it moves through the trees. It's difficult to tell if it's a man, animal, or something else, but it does look like a shadow figure. At first, it seems perfectly docile, and then it screams. The pair run, but it's unknown whether they made it out of the forest alive. That terrifying sound may have been the last thing they ever heard. In this clip, caught at the Credit Bank BCP, a cameraman is talking with a pair of colleagues, one male, the other female. He's standing behind them as they talk, but if you look instead at the background, you'll notice a dark figure over the man's shoulder race past.
Hay tres, pues hay tres. Oye, en la cámara, en la cámara acaba de pasar ahorita una niña corriendo. ¿Así? Oye, la niña que llora. Oye, te juro que en la cámara acaba de pasar ahorita corriendo, una niña.
The cameraman says, I have just seen a girl crossing there, the crying girl. He is talking about the Latin American weeping woman ghost, as this was shot in Lima, Peru. The man in the shot thinks the cameraman is joking, but when the cameraman goes to check, he turns up nothing, no girl, an empty room. I swear I have seen the ghost of a girl crossing here. I will show you the video, the man says. Did she simply disappear? A corresponding surveillance video of the bank's automatic doors revealed that they opened around the exact same time, but no little girl, no one at all exited. Well, some believe this video to be a fake. Others think that perhaps it truly was the weeping woman. Levitation, animal skulls, fire. This one has everything. These paranormal investigators have met their match. While looking around a ritualistic site, they come across this pentagram drawn on the wall. Nearby, rocks and candles are arranged alongside what looks like a black chopped off ponytail. There's a burnt animal skull posted up at the center of the pentagram. Later, the light from their camera shuts off. When it turns back on, a body has risen in the air and hangs there limply. It's one of their crew members, and a moment later, he is found collapsed on the floor and unconscious. They check his pulse and manage to shake him awake. He stumbles up, clearly rattled. Not long after, a fire starts on the ground in the room. They don't know how it started. Is there some evil entity haunting these howled grounds, brought to life by the rituals done here? A paranormal investigator who goes by Bakersfield Paranormal Services sadly lost his mother and is filled with grief. Even though he is very distraught, he wants to communicate with her. He goes to the cemetery with his equipment and approaches his mother's marker. At first, he asks some basic questions and has her respond by playing with the lights.
Are you always around me and my wife and my kids? Thank you. Emotions there, Mom. Do you love my wife? Okay, I got it. I got it.
After a while, he pulls out what he calls a ghost box, which supposedly allows his mother to communicate using various radio frequencies. He believes other spirits are crowding around the box and keeping his mom from communicating.
Mom, can you please speak to me? You're trying to?
He thinks she says, "I'm trying to," but I think it kind of sounds like she might be saying, "I love you." Listen to it again and let me know what you hear during this part. Cryptid hunter and two of his friends are returning to a cave that they believe to be haunted. This time they are using a paranormal investigative technique that I have never seen before. They bring dolls with them into the cave that they believe are already haunted. They want to see how the spirits in the dolls react to the spirits in the cave. They also use long, thin rods that the spirits can use to respond to questions.
Please point the rod to the most haunted doll that's inside his mind. Oh, there it goes again.
What the was that?
The smooth cave walls probably have little traction, so the doll could have just fallen over on its own. Then again, maybe it was really pushed over by an unseen spirit. Clearly the doll somehow moved. So those are the only two explanations I have. Let me know which one you think it was. This video looks like it came straight out of a scary movie, but it is claimed to be real life footage of a patient at a mental hospital in Sadovich, Siberia. According to William M., who wrote about the true story of what happened in Sadovich, Siberia. The story of Sadovich Asylum is incredibly disturbing. The location is remote, and all that remains are records and legends about what happened there, some of which served as inspiration for the 2012 film Entity. Without further ado, let's analyze this video. The footage shows a skeletal man in a white dressing gown, sitting and rocking slightly on a hospital bed. The room is dark and sparse, and the bed is narrow and doesn't look comfortable at all, which is perhaps why this patient is up all night, rocking back and forth. You can see the patient curled up in the fetal position on the bed, then huddled over, then standing. He then starts pushing the bed by the railing. After that, he appears as though he's removed his hospital gown, and he is seen leaning off screen, perhaps against the wall, trying to get out. He makes his way around the room, then he is seen lying on the floor by his bed. You can hear a horrifying guttural scream in the video. It's one of the most tortured howls you will ever hear. Along with whatever is unfolding in this video, other paranormal events are said to have occurred at Sadovich, and these events were becoming more and more common. More than one patient reported of evil things happening within that institution, until the authorities were forced to close the facility down, and it's good that they did. This video gave me some serious chills. It seems these poltergeists have left their group project until the last minute, published by Amar Ajola in September of 2014. This scary video caught some paranormal activity in a computer lab in Delhi's Karkardoma court. The footage shows a man sitting in a computer lab. He appears to be waiting to capture some strange activity on his camera, and then it happens. One computer monitor turns on, after another. They each turn on in their own time across the lab. No one else is in the room, so the mysterious behavior of the monitors is unnerving. Some think it's a prank using remote activation. Others think it's a ghost programmer needing to complete a project. Many note the orb activity in the video. Are these the entities that are present? It's certainly seeming that way to me. Surveillance footage was taken from the Helmikar College in South Africa. A strange mist appears in the far doorway and slowly morphs into the shape of a girl wearing a long dress. She casually walks into a nearby classroom, as if this was just another ordinary school day, except of course the room is empty and no one is in the building. Even though this is called Helmikar College, it's actually just a high school, and this phantom-like figure does appear to be around the same size as an average student. This makes me think it could possibly be real, though I guess they could have just edited this girl into the video if they really wanted to. A YouTuber named Tracy Slaughter and her family hear a disturbance at the top of the steps, and they grab the camera to record what they are seeing for proof. It starts out very hard to see at first, but soon a pale white outline slowly appears against the wall. The head becomes visible in the very center of the room where the two wall patterns meet.
I didn't say lights.
Oh my
You didn't say lights.
Did
you say go across? I like go across the top of the landing.
If you still don't see it, don't feel bad. The next part is much more obvious. Keep looking at the center of the stairway to see it.
It's only just gone across the top of the landing, and that's moving.
Can you ever see it?
Oh,
A being of pure white energy rushes down the steps and heads straight at them. If you play it in slow motion, you can see something actually comes around the corner and charges down the steps at them, sending everyone scattering. I guess this could be special effects, but I would like to get your opinion. The way everyone screams at the exact same time with true panic in their voices makes me think it could be real, in which case I'm glad they got out of there fast. If it was rushing forward to possess one of them, then I truly hope it does not succeed. Blurry Faces is a YouTuber exploring two mysterious schools standing next to each other. They were both built around World War II and have been abandoned for a long time. Everything starts out normal until Blurry Faces is exploring an upstairs room full of classroom furniture. After that, something seems to be stalking them at every turn. The strange banging noises only grow louder and more persistent as time wears on. I will give them credit for being courageous and sticking around for so long. This is the event that finally makes them lose their composure and scramble. This time Blurry Faces bravely tests the weight of the door himself and finds that it's way too heavy to swing open with such ease. You can tell he is putting a lot more effort into opening and closing the door than whatever just opened it moments earlier. Tell me what's written in Spanish across the door, and if it has any significance to what could be possibly lurking inside. Ninjin is supposed to be a large aquatic humanoid that was originally discovered by Japanese whale researchers in the Arctic. This video, allegedly taken from the Japanese Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology, appears to strongly corroborate the legend. The slow-moving camera creeps past what appears to be a rounded humanoid creature with two large white eyes. Look closely and you can see a playful smile across the sea creature's face in what some have called a knowing look. Everything from a whale to a rock has been proposed, though nothing has been verified. Let me know if you think this video is evidence of a human-like creature lurking somewhere in the icy waters below. Most people think of houses, hospitals, or jails when they think about ghost sightings, but some of the most unsuspecting of places can turn out to be the most haunted. This footage was taken in a popular food joint during broad daylight. A shadowy ghost suddenly materializes in a Subway restaurant. It starts out in the shape of a human and almost appears to be getting a table. When it gets back to its seat, the black shadow suddenly changes into a floating black blob of an orb. At this point, an employee or maybe a customer appears to see the ghost in the doorway. Whoever they are, they look stunned for a second and then quickly back away. The shadow orb pays no attention to the human as it floats up to the window and lingers there. It's almost as if it's taking a look at the outside world. The ghost starts to rise even higher and shrinks until it fully disappears back to wherever it came from. Dairo Firma TV published this video in 2007. The video shows a red swing set at a park on a windy day. At the beginning of the video, the middle swing is flying back and forth rapidly, as though someone is swinging vigorously on it. Only there's no one near the swing set. A man then walks in and stops the swing, and for a moment, it is still. Along with the swings on either side, they sway a little with the wind, but nothing like what the middle swing had been doing moments before. Then suddenly, the middle swing starts swinging back and forth again. It even starts to twist around a bit. People are gathered around the swing set, watching the phenomenon. What is causing the swing to move? It is clearly windy, but why are the other swings just swaying slightly? Well, this one is going berserk. Is a ghost child currently inhabiting that swing? Who knows? Well, most 4chaners argue that the video is indeed real, without the use of special effects. It is apparently caused by the Renaissance phenomenon, which makes this cause more scientific than paranormal. A YouTube channel called Interesting, Creepy, and Abandoned is checking out a local haunted house to see what they can find. They are making jokes as they search the first floor, but the atmosphere suddenly changes as they make their way up an old flight of stairs.
It's just really silent in here. I'm just getting a very weird vibe up here. I don't know.
One room has a very weak floor and a ladder leading up to the attic. The strange feeling grows stronger as they make their way up, and that's when they find it.
What is it, dude? Oh my god.
A doll has been strung up by the neck and left to hang in the attic all alone. This is already creepy enough, but then the doll starts spinning in a slow circle before their very eyes when it was stationary just a moment ago. The two of them can't figure out why the doll is moving on its own, so they decide to get out of the house before any other unexplainable events can happen. It's late at night and YouTuber Molly the Leg is the only car on the road when he sees something that doesn't make sense. Follow the curvature of the road and look in the distance to see it.
What was that?
What? What?
I saw somebody on a bicycle or something like that.
Up ahead, Molly the Leg sees a bright light cross the road and then suddenly disappear. What's also strange is how the street lights start flickering when this happens. He has no idea what the moving light was. It couldn't have been a car because there was nowhere for vehicles to go but straight. Molly the Leg even used Google Maps to verify this. So I'm at a complete loss. When Brian Schultz entered the forest in September of 2015, he probably wasn't expecting to be spooked by something that was perhaps paranormal. In his video description, he writes, "Camping trip on September 6, 2015. I was alone and seen strange lights moving from tree to tree of different sizes and colors. I was doing a live periscope at the time, so the video isn't the best quality." In the video, he was reading his live viewers' comments and responding. After the event occurred, he called into Art Bell's show, Midnight in the Desert, and talked on air about what had occurred. You can see a flash of light between the trees, with Brian's flashlight directed towards it. The flash looks like a spark of light. When he turns his flashlight off, the light is broad and bright. Whatever the light is, keeps flashing in the trees, low, high, everywhere. At times it appears like a flashlight, other times Brian suspects it's a UFO. Others in the comments said they've had similar experiences before with no explanation. Many commenters say at 2 minutes 36 seconds in the video, there is something or someone seen moving behind him.
But this light keeps flashing up in the trees, different areas. It's really weird, and I don't know how to describe it because it keeps flashing in different areas of the trees.
If we slow down the footage, you can definitely see something move. Do you have an explanation? A YouTuber named Michael Delaney is flying his drone when he comes across a wild animal in the brush. He follows its path and soon finds himself hovering above a den of rattlesnakes. Michael is casually observing their natural habitat when suddenly one of them feels threatened enough to react. The drone is fine, but the snake managed to dislodge the camera. Now the situation gets a whole lot more real, as Michael realizes he will have to somehow reach into an underground pit of snakes if he wants to see his GoPro again. Thinking fast, he wisely chooses to go in with a hockey stick instead of his bare hands. He balances the GoPro on the end of the stick and pulls it to safety. Keep in mind that he's standing in tall grass and could have easily been bit by a stray rattler. Let me know if you think you're brave enough to do the same thing, or if you would have just left your camera with the reptiles. You Can Run But You Can't Hide, published by WFLA in January of 2022. This scary video shows that danger will come for you when you least expect it. The video shows a police car driving down a Florida road, his siren blaring. A storm is brewing outside and a tornado is seen forming in the clouds to the left. The policeman turns down the road toward the twister, reporting the tornado's whereabouts over his radio. As he drives toward it,
Devils, I've shut down 41 in Collier right now. It's getting ready to cross over 41. Stand by. It's going over. It looks like Wawa.
there are other cars on the road traveling in both directions. The enormous twister makes its way across the highway and traffic pulls to a stop. After a while, the tornado dissipates.
I can't tell yet. I'm trying to get these cars to stop.
This was one of the multiple tornadoes spotted in the area that morning. 28 homes were destroyed, while 62 more were damaged, making them unlivable. This video is from a camping trip that Emery Buckner and his friends took back in 2010. After introducing each of his friends by name, something catches Emery's eye. He zooms in on a small clearing in the woods that's just up ahead, and that's when he sees it for the first time.
Guys, what is that?
I think it is. I think it's... What's what, Brendan?
Seriously, guys, there's something I seriously saw something over there. Tom?
None of his friends manage to see it, but Emery encourages them to stay still and keep looking. Then, sure enough, the red glowing eyes return.
Guys?
What? Oh my God.
What is that? That's it. That's it. Oh my gosh.
What is it?
They waste little time retreating to their boat and speed away to safety. But just before they take off, Emery catches the creature a final time. It's now casually observing the group while perched in a tree, its head cocked to the side, its faint outline barely visible behind a pair of glowing red eyes. If you spotted a spooky figure roaming the hospital at night, I'm guessing your first response wouldn't be to grab your camera, it would be to run as fast as your legs could carry you. But one brave individual saw capturing the passed away doctor on video as a challenge. The footage was taken in the Honduras school hospital Universitario. The doctor in question is said to have taken his own life at this very hospital and remains there. stalking up and down the place at night and flicking the lights on and off in patient rooms. As you can see in the video, a shadowy ghostly figure floats in the empty, poorly lit hallway from behind a door. The hallway is full of stretchers. Do you think this figure is something from another dimension? A ghostly presence, or perhaps something else? Whatever it is, I'd steer clear of this corridor at night. On January 15th, 2013, YouTuber Mr. Hutch117 posted this strange sound heard in the forest.
I don't want to be out here nighttime.
Where did it come from? We're in the middle of nowhere. The man filming asks. The man believed it was coming from up above somehow, though it also seems to come from every direction. He and his hiking partner had just heard a noise that was a bit off-putting. He decided to turn on his phone's video to capture the sound if they heard it again. Halfway through the footage, you can hear why they were concerned. The sound sounds off again, and it seemed like the guttural laughter of a demon.
Oh, maybe it wasn't 2012, it was 2013.
Then comes on a deep and echoey wailing, something that's not human, not animal, not anything known. Well, viewers think it must be fake because the people in the video aren't reacting much to the frightening sound. Others suggest it could be related to the mysterious trumpet-like noises heard worldwide, and some say it could be the US government project HARP. What do you think it is? School is the last place most people want to be in general, but in a crisis, there's an added layer of angst. Published by the Anchorage School District in December of 2018, a classroom security camera captured the scary magnitude 7.1 quake as it hit Anchorage, Alaska, on November 30th of that same year at about 8:30 in the morning. The video shows the room and its objects start to tremble as the camera begins to shake. For such an event, the students know what to do as they jump under their desks without any prompting from the teacher, who ducks under a desk as well. The projector shakes the most aggressively, while objects are seen falling from the desks and walls. The power goes out for a moment and you can hear the teacher trying to keep the students calm.
Cover your mouth with your shirt.
After the initial quaking comes to an end, the teacher tells the kids to remain under the desks.
Everybody okay?
Breathe in.
Stay underneath the table.
After a while, the fire alarm goes off, and the students retreat from the classroom. More than 80 aftershocks followed throughout the day, with 3 reaching magnitudes of 5.0 or greater. One of them occurred just 6 minutes after this original quake. Way to keep calm and carry on. Police arrive to find a mother of 2 is seeing things on the roof while holding her 2 children. She doesn't believe a word anyone has to say, and thinks everyone is out to get her. Now it's up to them to bring everybody down safely. They climb onto the narrow ledge, and there's barely enough room for a grown man to stand. She is in such an anxious, delusional state that not even a legitimate badge and uniform are enough to convince her. My analysis of this part is that she thinks that he is putting away his badge too quickly, which in her mind means it must be fake.
There you go.
Okay, really?
Yeah, real.
No, really, let me see.
Yeah, right here. See? It says police.
Sergeant?
Yeah.
Eventually, she thinks he is real, but then she thinks his partner is an imposter. She reads his name tag out loud and freaks out.
No, who are you? Point Blank? Point Blank's Body Adventure? No, Point Blank!
I think his name is Blaine Points or something like that, but I can't figure out what the significance is to her. Also, it sounds like she calls him a body avenger, whatever that means. At this point, she is so frantic that she might lose her balance. So the cops have to grab the kids by the arm and get into a terrifying tug of war. The poor kid has an adult pulling on each arm. The situation is probably horrifying for them. Eventually, the police win and round the children up, who sadly probably won't be seeing their mother again until well into their teenage years, if ever. This footage was supposedly taken from a submarine lurking somewhere in the Greenland Sea. The crew is so fascinated with a school of fish overhead that they fail to see a much rarer creature directly behind them. A large webbed hand that is roughly 5 times larger than any humans slaps the glass before pushing away. It's almost as if the humanoid creature was toying with the submarine crew and wanted to make its presence known. However, one thing bothers me about this video. If everyone is so interested in the school of fish passing above them, then why is the cameraman focusing on his crewmate's reaction instead of the fish? This video could very well be scripted and CGI, although it also wouldn't surprise me if it really was legitimate. Only the submarine crew knows for sure. This is 8-year-old Libby Chaletsky leaving his school one day in Brooklyn, New York. When he fails to come home that night, his father looks at the CCTV video and starts retracing his son's path. The school's video shows his son walking down the road and making a left. He stops in a nearby locksmith store and talks to the owner, who is a neighborhood friend. The locksmith has no problem showing the worried father his CCTV footage. It shows Libby walking one direction and then doubling back as if he is lost. You can see someone in a white shirt walking with him shortly before he goes off camera. The father tracks down more CCTV videos from other businesses and paints a disturbing picture. He watches his son get into a man's car and they drive off somewhere. He checks the same camera later and sees them return. The stranger gets out of the car and leads his son into a white building. This is a small Brooklyn community, so the father instantly recognizes this place as the local dentist office. He passes all of this information to the authorities and they raid the dentist's office and home. What they find is a grisly and scary scene. The dentist has taken his son apart and is keeping him in the freezer. His name is Levi Aaron. He told officials that he sometimes hears voices in his head, though he never said what they told him to do or why he took Libby's life. Though sheer insanity appears to be his motive, he was nonetheless sentenced to 40 years. Ghosts don't have to wait until nighttime before they can begin to haunt. As this Brazilian soccer footage shows, the crowd is happily cheering on their favorite team when suddenly a shadow ghost starts sprinting through all of them. Look closely and you'll notice how nobody tries to move out of the way. Even though a person is clearly running full speed at them, not a single person tries to pull their legs in or even bothers to look up. They are so concentrated on the game that they do not see, feel, or hear the ghost as it runs directly through the half-filled stadium in a straight line. A YouTuber named Aqua Chigger found growing on the bottom of a river in Williamsport, Maryland. It's a riverbed full of green gelatinous plant life that strangely sways and shimmers. Aqua Chigger believes he may have found some kind of a brightly colored underwater alien colony. While I'm not so sure about that, I certainly do think this is a strange find. Let me know if you have seen anything like it before, and if so, what it could be. It's a cold, dark winter's night. You're walking down a snow-packed road, street lamps the only source of light to guide you. It's silent as the grave until you hear this noise. Published in February of 2013, Matt J describes what he captured on video. Weird, creepy squealing noises coming out of a manhole drain cover in Switzerland. Emanating from out of the manhole cover is an eerie, otherworldly noise, melodic and high-pitched. The noise sounds like some kind of call, lasting for a couple seconds with a pause between each mysterious address. The call goes on continuously, maybe even interminably. What could this sound be? Is it code for something? And what in the world is making the noise? Of course, YouTube doesn't disappoint when it comes to theories. Suggestions range from a person in the sewer to a screaming rat to Pennywise, of course. But the most likely explanation comes from a YouTuber who offered up his expertise, saying the sound is coming from the flow regulator system. Fair enough, but I'd still like to think that there's something sinister sending messages through our sewer system. Phil Sinclair's Paranormal Investigations is taking a look at one of Britain's most haunted roads, the Stocksbridge Bypass, when something passes by his right shoulder.
Who am I talking to?
This could be a crew member, but Phil Sinclair doesn't seem to think so, and some of the commenters have noticed this pale figure over his right shoulder seems to briefly change shape. I'm not sure about that, but I do think they definitely look like they are running away, which is weird considering everyone else is standing completely still. A YouTuber named Charles M is checking out an old house for sale in Las Vegas that was supposedly owned by the mafia. At one point during the tour, he comes across a fake wall in the kitchen and follows an old set of stairs down to a secret basement. The basement extends for a long time further and further underground, eventually opening up into a long white room that's completely bare, except for cabinets lining the far wall. Connected to this room are two other smaller rooms about the size of a closet. They each give him a bad feeling. The two smaller rooms are dark and soundproof. Strangest of all, the doors only have knobs on the outside. I don't know why the mob would have needed a soundproof room that nobody could escape from, and I don't want to know. That's all he finds. Hidden inside the ventilation shaft of one of the rooms is what appears to be a single spent bullet casing. A drone is deployed by the Randolph County Sheriff's Department in North Carolina to try and find a missing elderly woman who has memory problems and has wandered away from home. A few hundred feet from her house, they find a single speck of purple, her jacket, standing out from the outskirts of a cornfield. She looks to be a few rows in and standing motionless, probably wondering how she got here and what to do next. She seems to be pretty out of it, because instead of waving for help, she simply pulls her hood up when she sees the drone like it frightens her. Two officers are able to locate her on the ground after the drone sighting. I'm glad she was found. It's scary to think what could have happened if she wasn't wearing a bright color like purple. She could have easily been passed over and left to fend for herself. No Squid Sid published this scary video in October 2015. Writing, while I am away, a strange man is caught on my surveillance camera, snooping around my house. I accidentally left my webcam on after making a video, and I then left the house with it on. The video shows a normal living room with a sliding glass door revealing a backyard with a fence. A van pulls up beyond the fence. The uploader said he assumed it was a visitor of one of his neighbors. The guy gets out of the vehicle and looks directly at the house. The guy is then out of view for a moment. The uploader thought he went up the street, but soon enough he is seen peering into the room. The man is bald, wearing jeans and a hooded sweatshirt, and he stands right up next to the sliding glass door peering inside. He's holding a piece of paper in his hand. He knocks on the window of the patio door, pulls up his pants and waits. After a moment, he appears to be leaving, but you don't see him get back into his vehicle for about a minute. The uploader suggests that maybe he went around to the front door to knock because he could hear his dog barking in the video. When he does finally get back into his vehicle, he gets out again, leaving the car door open. He seems to be carrying something rather large, but you can't really make out what it is. Suddenly, there's a loud noise captured in the video. What was the noise? You see the man get back into the vehicle and he finally drives off, and the questions remain. What was he doing there? Why was this stranger knocking and lurking around the uploader's house? Why did he knock on the back door first? And most importantly, what was that noise? The uploader says that when he returned to his house, he found a crack in his door, so that must have been the noise near the end of the video. Was he trying to break in? Who knows? But the uploader hasn't seen the strange lurker since.
And I always look up to the sky and I always say, "Hi, Dad."
That's how a YouTuber named Jennifer Moen5 pays her respects to her dad, who has since passed on. Then one day it looks like her father says hello back to her and her family.
Oh boy.
You can see a shimmering orb rise and fall to the ground as soon as she says hi to her father. I wanted to add that this is the only paranormal video on Jennifer's channel, which otherwise focuses on enjoying wholesome moments with family, so I really don't think this is video editing. I also wanted to ask that everyone please show the utmost respect when telling me if you believe this is real or fake, since it deals with the memory of a loved one. A man in Daytona goes roof hopping to get away from police. He's almost grabbed at 1 minute and 49 seconds, so he turns around and goes to slide off the roof, only to find more officers waiting for him below. Surrounded, desperate, and unable to see anything ahead of him, he hesitates but makes a last-ditch effort and buys him a few more minutes of freedom. He lays on his back while they search for him. Whenever they get close, he simply crawls to the other side and waits some more. Soon, the drone gives away his position over the radio, and they know exactly where to look. At 3 minutes and 10 seconds, you can see them climb up to call him out and talk him down. On the left side of the screen is a police dog, so at this point there's nothing left for him to do other than give up. He appears to be trying to look for a way out of this at 3 minutes and 24 seconds, but he is unsuccessful. He waits for them to get a ladder instead and then climbs down to accept his fate. Cora MK2 is a serious motorcycle enthusiast with a YouTube channel detailing his many road adventures. One night he is biking across a normal looking bridge in Pasadena, California, when he sees something particularly unsettling. Be sure to watch the right side or you'll miss it. You might have missed it anyway, so here it is again.
This girl right here, she's just standing there. She's not walking, she's just standing there, and you can't really...
It's important to note that the replay was not edited. After I knew where to look, I was able to go back to the original footage and see her easily. Cora MK2 says that the girl was smiling, though the camera isn't able to pick up the details of her face. Apparently, so many people have taken their lives on this bridge that it's gotten to a point where they had to install fences as a deterrent. Perhaps this girl was either contemplating taking her life or was the spirit of someone who already has. Two friends are fishing when they hear somebody else firing for hunt not too far away. The two don't think much of it and let the man continue his hobby while they continue theirs. They keep casting into the water and everything is going fine for about a minute, and then the two sports collide.
Holy! Stop! Hey! Hey! It hit my boat!
Look again and you can tell that he doesn't pick his foot up for dramatic effect. It was really that close. When you slow down the video to frame by frame, you can briefly see the round as it bounces off the deck right by his foot. If they had been drifting downriver, even just a little faster, it would have been a direct hit and a trip to the hospital for certain. A YouTuber named 11 Makeda and their friends are camping in the backyard when they completely lose control of their bonfire. First, they try to put out the blaze with a simple garden hose. When that doesn't work, they try to smother the fire with dirt using shovels. Meanwhile, the flames grow taller and hotter as the fire spreads outwards, threatening to reach a house that's only a short distance away. Also, if it reaches the cornfield behind them, then the fire could quickly cover acres of land. The short 5-minute video ends before we get a chance to see what happens next. Hopefully they did the right thing and called for firefighters to put an end to the backyard inferno. Otherwise, if they were too afraid of getting in trouble and continued to try and contain it themselves, then it might very have cost somebody their home. This group of friends decides to go into an old middle school that's rumored to be haunted. The building has only recently been abandoned, and it's still in relatively good condition, so there's not much to say until they come to one section of the school that's much darker and filled with mold. The group still feels safe in their large numbers down here, and they bravely trudge through a series of musty hallways. They don't see anything out of the ordinary, but when they put the video on YouTube later, Somebody points out a possible shadow figure in the distance during this part in particular. I personally think that it could just be stacked debris, but then again, I can somewhat make out the faint outline of a shadow that's roughly the size of a child. The more I look at it, the more I can notice its legs and head in particular. Let me know if you agree, or if you think I'm looking into the situation too deeply. This video of urban exploration, published by Backyard Exploration in January 2015, is particularly eerie, because what's scarier than dark, damp tunnels and nowhere to turn? In the video description, Backyard Exploration writes, "As the city grew, much of the underworld was sealed and forgotten. We infiltrate the sewers in search for this lost history. Unlike many entries on this list, these guys mean business. They are decked out with gear, headlamps, ropes, and safety equipment for sewer exploration, and they will need it. The underground is a dangerous place, and if you're claustrophobic, the tight spaces might give you screaming anxiety. Even worse, if you're squeamish, you might want to sit this one out, as there's loads of wading through raw sewage." The exploration shows the bricked underbelly of the sewage system, along with the sewer rats that scurry across the ground and up the walls. Water trickles down from above as the team continues to trapeze through the dark tunnels. The team crawls and climbs through narrow channels to make sure no stone is left unturned, and at one point, they even walk waist deep in sewage water, which is sometimes calm, sometimes rushing. In some areas, there are massive amounts of cockroaches skittering across the ceiling of the tunnel. All in all, it's pretty much every phobia imaginable in one. As After Dark said in the comments, this is the stuff that nightmares are made of, this tunnel. But fortunately, this nightmare does come to an end. As the video concludes, they exit the sewage tunnel to breathe fresher air and see daylight again. Desert workers in Portugal were in for a giant surprise after a huge humanoid decided to wander around the remote job site. The workers were casually filming the desert landscape and having a private conversation when they noticed a hulking creature stomping its way across the prairie in the distance. This towering humanoid looks 3 times the size of a regular person. The length of its forearms alone is probably the size of a grown man's leg, and despite being heavily hunched over, it looks to be well over 7 feet tall. It's almost as tall as the tree it disappears behind. The stunned Portuguese workers were filming for a bit, and when the creature doesn't re-emerge, they wisely choose not to pursue and the video ends. They definitely made the right decision by leaving it alone. One look at its massive arms and long legs and you'd have no doubt that this monster could have easily defended itself against them. 2 students are racing down a flight of steps when an insidious spirit rushes up and sweeps one of them off their feet. A paranormal tug-of-war match ensues as the frightened student tries to free his friend from the clutches of this malicious shadow fiend. Eventually, the evil entity lets go and dematerializes behind them as they run up the steps. Many people think that this was an actual possession attempt caught on video, and that this person would have been a goner for sure, if not for the quick reactions of his friend. I'm not sure whether or not I believe that theory, so please let me know what you think. This popular chain restaurant in a children's hospital is said to be haunted, and I need your help to tell if this is real or not. A small transparent girl runs by, but something is a little off about the video, and it looks like it might be photoshopped. If any video editing experts can tell me if this ghost sighting is fake or real, I could definitely use your help. A YouTuber named Ariane Childress is a ghost hunter, using some sort of paranormal software that I'm not familiar with. It almost looks like split-screen night vision, with some sort of enhancement feature on the right. Anyway, Ariane uses the program to capture what appears to be an oversized face, lingering in her window.
Yeah, seriously, I'm like looking at this window, there's nothing out there. It looks like there's a face. That's really creepy.
She says that she's been feeling watched in real life when she turned the app on and pointed it towards the window. Meanwhile, the colors continue to switch from pitch black to a gray discolored face.
Not normal.
Be sure to let me know what this app is and how it works if you have any knowledge. This Iraqi child is unique from her peers in many different ways because her skin and hair have no pigmentation at all, but most importantly, her eyes are pure red. The reason she squints into the camera is because her red eyes absorb all of the light instead of reflecting it. Her parents see this rare eye color as a blessing, but some see it as a curse. After all, red eyes are a nearly universal sign of possession in many cultures, though I doubt this is the case here. Some superstitious folks will no doubt be wary of her before they have a chance to better understand. Her red eyes will stay this way for the rest of her life and hopefully cause her no social stigma. This one's a little difficult to see, but when you do, the payoff is worth it. A YouTuber named Past is exploring an abandoned property in Nottingham. Pay attention to the very last window during this clip. Even then, I doubt you'll see it. Now here it is again, with the paranormal sighting highlighted. Something very large appears to move quickly in the very last window. However, this window leads outside and is 2 floors from the ground. With this in mind, what could this moving object be? A YouTuber named Darth Nixa claims to have found this disregarded video somewhere in Croatia back in 2005. In it, 2 friends are hanging out in the park late at night when they notice someone is apparently following them closely without making a sound.
Ne, pišu, kaj radi? Sam stoji.
The 2 of them think it's weird, but they don't seem to be very intimidated, especially considering they outnumber the stranger 2 to 1. Even when the unknown man gets closer and does a creepy walk towards them, they laugh it off as some sort of joke and calmly walk away. Soon it becomes obvious that this person is not going to go away on his own, and they turn around to confront him. The 2 friends still aren't taking the situation seriously until it becomes too late.
Hey, jel si ti u redu, ovak?
Oprosti, ali vam treba pomoć.
The way the video cuts off makes me think that this could just be a student art project that Darth Nixa could have either found somewhere or even made himself. Let me know what they are saying if you speak Croatian, and if you think this video is real, maybe there's a longer version floating around where we can actually see what happens next. This security camera footage, uploaded by DJ Ashba in August of 2015, shows an outdoor courtyard on a sunny day. The uploader claims he left that afternoon and locked his doors and no one was in his house. He returned to find one of them open, so he checked his security cameras to see how this happened, and this is what he found. You can see a flash of light in the video, and then the door swings open, but no one comes out, or no one that we can see anyway. The uploader writes, I named the ghost in my house Charlie. Since this, I have experienced several unexplainable creepy occurrences. Hopefully, for the sake of these homeowners, Charlie finds a different haunting ground. This footage comes from somewhere in the Middle East. A group of teenagers are curiously exploring an old school. They go up a flight of steps and pause when they hear a dog whining on the other side of the door. They all run down the steps and gather at the bottom. They're afraid of being attacked by a group of stray dogs now, but they decide to press on and explore the lower areas. The group finds bravery in their numbers and begins to joke and laugh again as they make their way down a long hallway. They open a door and find graffiti on the wall. Other people had been here before them. Maybe this place isn't so bad after all. The teens grow a little more nervous as they continue to poke around. They are laughing less and starting to go silent. Something just isn't right about this section of the building. A YouTuber named Zabin Jaguar translated their comments. He says at this point one of the teens say that their phone shut itself off even though it was fully charged only a moment ago. Another person was able to keep recording, though they probably now wish they hadn't. They enter one classroom in particular and get a dreadful feeling. Suddenly a figure actually appears out of thin air and walks towards them. The ghost is missing his head, but there's somehow no blood. A loud chanting begins as soon as the ghost walks towards them, but this may be prayers from a nearby mosque. Amazingly, the group all appears to have missed the ghost, which explains why they calmly continue to keep exploring. They wouldn't see the apparition until much later, but when they did, they would never forget what was heading straight towards them in that room. Drew 2727 is watching a boxing match with some friends when he catches an unwanted visitor outside. Pay attention to the sliding glass window as he pans around. An impossibly large creature with a long twisted neck appears to be regarding the group from the backyard. I will say that something does feel a little staged about this video because no one is talking or even looking at the camera as it passes by. But I guess they could have just been a quiet group of friends. Passengers on a ride at the state fair dangle helplessly high in the air, unable to do anything but wait to be let off as technicians struggle to manually gain control over each of the 3 spinning sections. There is not much time to act and every second is precious. The ride stopped because of an electrical malfunction, which means it can possibly start up again at any moment and smash everything to pieces. Meanwhile, everyone's restraints are being tested to the max as they hang upside down with their full weight suspended in midair. A loose screw or moving part could send them into the concrete below. The workers have to level out the seats so that they are upright before lowering the ride. I can only imagine how high everyone's anxiety levels must have been, especially the family members watching from the outside. Nick Juggernuggets is a famous YouTuber who comes home one day only to find evidence of a serious break-in. Some of his possessions are missing, things that he is sure were in his room earlier before.
Somebody took the hard drive.
Hard drive to what?
All my behind the scenes. Somebody literally came into the house and must have taken this shit. I'm going to check the security camera.
He argues with his father for a bit about the likelihood of someone breaking in, but the security video does not lie.
Hold on, here it comes.
Sure enough, some stranger cases the house by knocking on the door a few times, even going so far as trying the knob. Soon he uses a long tool to pry open a window and reaches inside to quickly scoop up a nearby hard drive before taking off.
Oh my god, dude.
Much to McJuggerNugget's amazement, the window was right next to his bed. He soon comes to the sickening realization that this person, who was perhaps a stalker, literally reached into his room to retrieve a hard drive full of unedited video content. Who knows what this deranged fan will come back for next time. This video, published by Chopped Liver in April of 2015, will demonstrate why it's not wise to mess with farmers. Chopped Liver wrote, "Always be sure to ask for permission before flying over someone's property. Found out the hard way what happens." He went on to say that the drone was in police evidence and they were going to court over the incident. This isn't the first time nor the last that drones have been entangled in controversy over something like this. Do you think the farmer was in the right to take the drone down, or do you think he went too far? I think the biggest takeaway from all this is that the easiest thing to do when flying a drone over someone's property is to ask them first. After all, you don't want your drone's fate to be this. A YouTuber named Elton Minea Severo is recording a webcam video. When a phone call interrupts him, it looks like he might sense that something is nearby when he is talking, but he is too distracted by the conversation to give it much more than a moment's thought. As soon as he hangs up the phone, a white moon-shaped face peeks in from around the corner. It surveys the room for a bit before ducking down and leaping out of sight when Elton turns around, at which point you can momentarily see some kind of weird body with short arms and legs. There is a chance that all of this could be edited, but before you immediately think this is fake, keep in mind that it was recorded in 2006, so pretty much all webcam videos looked grainy like this. If anything, this was a pretty high quality video for its time, especially considering YouTube was less than 2 years old when it was uploaded, so who knows what it could have been.
This ladder is walking down the driveway. No one's touching it. No one's around it, and it's actually walking down the driveway.
That's the reaction of Tony Doe as he videotapes a walking ladder on its own. The ladder clatters down the driveway as if someone is guiding it in short steps, but nobody is near. If you have any possible explanations for this, or have seen this before with your own eyes, then please share your experience. If no one has a proper explanation, then this is one of the most perplexing videos I think I've analyzed on this channel to date. Theo freaking Door is walking around outside with a friend when he stops and looks around, suddenly feeling paranoid and alarmed for no reason at all.
Dude, that was straight up like, hold on. I got a huge uneasy feeling like I was being watched by something.
He keeps sensing that something is wrong, and sure enough, he stumbles upon a large square patch of freshly dug earth directly in front of him.
Yeah, I want to get a good view of it. Dude, somebody was digging a grave out here. Oh god.
Theo and his friends stay around for long enough to document the event, and then they quickly take off. According to them, this is a massive hole that is too large to be for a dog or any ordinary house pet. Maybe I am just jumping to conclusions, but that hole looks like it's just the right size for a body. Let me know if you agree or not. It's videos like this that make me believe ignorance is bliss. Simon Lawrence caught this drone footage of a great white shark scoping up a 7-meter crab boat near Port Lincoln, South Australia in October of 2017. You can see the enormous shark drift carelessly beneath the boat. At first, the shark appears to have no interest, but then the shark does a 180 and returns, appearing to nudge the rear of the boat.
Like he's Kane.
Simon said that the shark put its nose against the motor and started to push us around. It then put its mouth over the echo sounder transducer. You can see the shark surface a couple times, which is quite scary in and of itself. Just seeing that face above the water is a little too Jaws-esque for the faint of heart. You can also see the shark move against the motor, although it doesn't seem to have caused any damage. After a while, the shark heads off and takes a rope with it. This incident would not have me going for a swim there anytime soon. Well, World War II hospitals are frightening. Imagine exploring the place that no one leaves alive, a hospital morgue. That's where a YouTuber Exploring with Josh took his channel in July of 2017. In this video of an abandoned California hospital, Josh comes across sharp scalpels, hospital chairs, and loads of scattered papers, as if whoever worked here left in a hurry. Why? According to Josh, the hospital closed down because it didn't meet the requirements for new earthquake regulation rules, so it seems they didn't bother remodeling the place and instead simply shut it down. There is caution tape draped over one examination table. Whether it was left over from the police or from some trespassing kids is unclear. There's plenty of graffiti on the walls to imply that this place hasn't been entirely abandoned at all. It seems to be a regular stomping ground for youth with nothing to do, but should it be? There's a big red box that reads Danger Biohazard, which makes one wonder if it's even safe to be exploring this hospital at all. Josh continues into a massive room where holiday decorations are kept. The crew walks on into the pediatric center and then decides to go search out the morgue, but before they do, they come across a room filled with hospital equipment, from hospital beds to examination tables to lights and microscopes. Further in, they come across an incubator, computers, old hard drives. Everything was simply left behind to rot. They even left supplies like syringes that are still in their original packaging. Finally, they arrive at the morgue. Inside is a flatbed, sinks, and autopsy tools. Then, of course, there are the stainless steel freezers, which line the walls, ready to take in new patients. Josh decides to test it out, walking inside the freezer. He accidentally rubs against the walls. "Now you've got dead body on you," his friend says. All I have to say is that at least he isn't one of them. A YouTuber named Yankee Reb travels to the haunted battlefield of Gettysburg, Virginia, and stands before an old battle cannon. He grows very still and records nothing but darkness for a full 20 minutes before any paranormal activity occurs. As the night progresses, a lone soldier silently marches around the cannon and stops just outside of the muzzle, which is where you would stand to reload it.
Holy down by the cannon, you see that?
Oh, what is that?
I say it could be a soldier because, aside from the historic location, I can also kind of make out the old style sash and hat that some soldiers used to wear.
No way. What is that?
I have no idea.
Did you get that on the camera?
It's recording.
Oh my gosh, did you see that?
His attire is most visible at around the 1 minute and 58 second mark, so that's when you can get the clearest and most direct look for yourself. Let me know if you can see what he has on.
Did you, honestly?
I wouldn't believe it unless we recorded it.
Maybe this soldier in particular was accidentally taken out by his own cannon while reloading, which used to happen quite often back those times. A remorseless psycho has been roaming the streets, striking people senseless with a hammer in Las Vegas, Nevada. This time he's come across a particularly vulnerable homeless target who is fast asleep in the cold street. The lunatic looks over his shoulder. It's the middle of the night, no one else is around. He quietly removes his blunt instrument of destruction from a plastic bag and takes 2 swings. Little does he know his hammer has connected with the head of a mannequin set up by the LVMPD. This is not a homeless person, but rather a decoy that police are using to catch the man who has been terrorizing the streets. It was an undercover operation that they weren't sure would work, but to their astonishment, they catch him after only a few nights. The man, later identified as Shane Schindler, had this to say upon his arrest.
Okay, have you hit anybody with a hammer? No.
His attitude quickly changes after being confronted with the video evidence. Shane was sentenced to serve between 8 and 20 years for striking the decoy with a hammer. I don't think police could pin him to the other incidents in the area, or else he would have gotten more time. Either way, at no point did he seem particularly upset by his actions or their consequences. Shortly after moving into their new apartment, this couple began to feel watched, so they installed a camera in the bedroom. A few nights later, they record a full-grown adult standing outside of their window. At first, he is so focused on staring into their bedroom that he doesn't even seem to notice or care about how obvious he stands out against the well-lit parking lot. When the couple inside walks closer to the window and gets on the bed, he tries to be a little more cautious but fails miserably. It's pretty obvious that he is still there and eagerly looking straight at them. He is about as close to the window as he can be, and he is probably really getting into the idea of watching them without being seen himself, not knowing that he himself is on camera. They can see him the entire time, and this is the exact moment that the boyfriend goes out and confronts the man, who quickly stands up and shows no aggression as he walks away. It turns out to actually be their neighbor next door. He came over and apologized the next day, but something tells me that this is a compulsion that he cannot help, and soon enough he will be back at it again. If not with them, then with someone else. A Halloween football game at Silmar High, California picked up what could be the ghost of an old football player going for one last tackle.
Anna says a month later, when she looked at the video, she saw a mysterious ghost-like figure running across the field.
The mother did not remember to even look at this video until a full month later. Let me know if you think she has made a valid discovery, or if this is some kind of camera malfunction. A child is left alone for just a moment, but still long enough for her to have a possible conversation with a ghost. Look across from her at the wrapped silverware in front of the glass and watch what it does as she speaks. The silverware moves all by itself shortly after she reminds an invisible person that this is not their dinner. She could be talking to an imaginary friend, but that doesn't explain how the object moved without being touched. The ghost appears to leave her alone after this brief interaction, and she happily resumes eating as if nothing happened. Exactly what it was planning to do to their food could be anyone's guess. This tiny alien-looking body was recovered in the South American desert of Atacama in 2003. Rumors quickly spread that the tiny inch being, which had gigantic pointy eye sockets and 2 missing ribs, had to be from another galaxy. DNA testing quickly revealed a different story. The small human was a member of the local population who had a rare genetic variation of dwarfism that has never been documented before. This discovery would have never been possible if not for this video to generate public interest. A wanted man in Ripley, England pulls a crazy move to avoid being captured, completely unaware that his aerial acrobatics are also caught on camera via a newly outfitted police drone unit. He opens the window, hesitates, and then drops down onto a patio roof. It surprisingly holds his weight as he daringly runs across the fence and jumps into somebody's yard. Meanwhile, a ton of police are in pursuit. I have no idea what he did, but he must be risking a serious penalty to want to get away this bad. He outruns a police dog, and at 40 seconds he jumps a fence that not even the K9 unit can handle. He tries to hide in this unkept yard, but it's no use. The drone has him in its sights, and with his position detected, there's nowhere left to hide. He's quickly apprehended. Explore With Us is a YouTube channel that goes to abandoned areas to see what they can find. This was taken during their very first live stream when they were checking out a post office and a general store in the middle of an old ghost town. The rickety buildings look ready to collapse at any moment, but what's inside the buildings is not the strangest part of this video. About 3.5 minutes into the stream, someone tries to make contact with the group.
Should I answer that? Hello? Hello?
No one is on the other side. All they hear is this strange noise. Obviously, this could just be a prank from one of the viewers, but I don't think their location was ever disclosed. Therefore, it could have just as easily been an old resident of this abandoned town. There's just no way to tell for sure. Also, pay attention and you'll see a faint red light in the distance. Hopefully, it was just a cell phone tower or something like that. But then again, there doesn't seem to be any other structures nearby. Just darkness. This is supposedly the last footage of 2 guys who were driving through a forest in 2006, uploaded by Lars Helg Nedrabo. He writes, "This is some of the footage found on their camcorder. From what they are saying on the video, they were trying to take a shortcut through the forest. The footage is dark and not so clear, but it shows 2 friends driving along a road, laughing, singing, and generally having a good time. At one point, they are in a forested area when they come across a roadblock. One of the friends gets out to move it. The road beyond is a bit spookier. It's bordered by trees and darkness. They come across another roadblock, and the driver stops so his friend can pop out again to move it, but he can't for some reason. It's locked perhaps. He gets back in the car, and we can assume they turned around to get back onto the main road. Then, for some reason, they get out of the safety of their car and head into the forest. Bad idea. While they're walking, they hear something not of this world. The sound is disturbing and seems to scare the men who are searching for its source with a dim flashlight, but they start laughing, as it sounds strange, like an animal choking or something. Soon, however, they're not laughing. Whatever creature was making that noise suddenly attacks one of them. While the other races towards the car, you can hear him sobbing as he attempts to get back inside to safety, but he doesn't make it. The creature attacks him as well, and the camera catches him as he falls to the ground and is dragged off. We can assume neither of the pair made it out alive, as the title Last Footage would suggest. What was this creature? Do you think this footage is fake or real? It's been debated on the internet for quite a while now, whether real or not. It's quite scary. Exploring with Josh is a YouTube channel dedicated to taking a closer look at all sorts of frightening locations. This time they decide to check out an abandoned school that is reportedly the source of black magic rituals. Pentagrams spray painted on the wall give them a general feeling of unease all around as they make their way deeper into the building. They feel watched at times and are worried about coming across someone at any given moment. I notice some sort of strange ephemeral smoke follows them throughout the video. It's visible in two different scenes. The first time happens about 5 minutes in.
You see some? Damn, this is spooky. Hopefully we don't run into anything crazy.
Then it happens again here roughly a minute and a half later.
Yo, this one's a little bit scary. If we hear anything, let's just...
The strange smoke is definitely not their breath, because it only happens twice instead of throughout the entire video. Coincidentally, the smoke appears as soon as they sense that something is nearby. As if that weren't enough, they have another random paranormal encounter that is much more blatant.
Oh my god, did you get that on tape? That is insane.
I don't see any block light around the door frame to indicate one of their friends was on the other side. In fact, it doesn't look like the door even has a knob to use. There just doesn't seem to be any plausible reason for this door to open on its own. Something has crawled up this poor woman's leg and refuses to come out. Her friend almost has it by the tail, but then at the last second it does the unthinkable and burrows even deeper. The scared animal probably would have gone up way higher if she didn't stand up in time and let gravity force it back down. She is either trying not to scream or lose her lunch as her friend tries again, this time wrapping its tail around his index finger. He manages to extract a giant rat and quickly puts it back in its container. The rat looks used to being handled, and this is probably the only thing that kept it from trying to bite and scratch its way out. This video seems like just an image of a gator at the start, with its jaw wide open, staring blankly, completely motionless. But it's not a photo. That becomes clear when the camera zooms in closer to the gator's eye, and it starts backing up angrily, its jaw even wider. Then it goes berserk in the tunnel, clambering towards the camera, until the camera pulls away. The gator then approaches slowly, biting on a cord. After backing away again, the camera approaches the wide-mouthed, sharp-toothed creature once more. The eyes, the scales, the teeth. There's nothing about this that isn't chilling to the core. But what is a camera doing up close and personal down in a sewer anyway? Mike Kruger in the comments section of this video seems pretty knowledgeable on the subject. He wrote that the camera was doing a condition assessment of the storm sewer. He noted that behind the alligator, you can see the swamp. The tired gator simply clambered into the pipe to have a sewer nap, that is, until his nap was so rudely interrupted. Kevin Diebenprock finds himself at the bottom of a ditch. He is not doing well enough to stand up, but he can still hold a camera and record, so he makes a goodbye video to his friends. Oh, and he did try to call for help, but he couldn't get a signal. The sun sets and I think most of us would have passed out or completely panicked by now, but hours later Kevin is calm and focused enough to think of a pretty good plan.
7 o'clock. Gotta use my flashlight to wave somebody down.
You can hear traffic pass him the entire time just 50 feet away, but nobody has any reason to look at the bottom of a huge ditch as they keep going.
Man, I could use a drink of water.
I am amazed that he is not crying or anything as he calmly says goodbye, totally at peace with the situation.
Alright. Love you. Love you, Courtney.
Kevin was found by a random person a full 30 hours later, long after this video ended, and his cell phone has lost its charge. He is still alive and okay. What would you think if you saw a wheelchair moving down an eerie, empty, poorly lit hospital corridor at night? You might think you've walked straight into a horror movie. That's probably what security for this hospital thought when they reviewed the security footage after some ghost was up to no good. In the footage, a wheelchair is parked near a wall at the end of the hallway, but slowly it starts to turn and begins to roll backwards around the corner. No one is pushing it and no one is sitting in it, so who or what is maneuvering the chair? And where are they going? Only the spirits lingering in this hospital know. Multiple cameras capture a UFO hovering over Jerusalem in 2011. The small moving ball of light glides over the building tops for a while, and then does a dazzling aerial maneuver that no human aircraft could ever possibly replicate. I would think this is CGI, but the same event was reportedly witnessed by numerous people who don't know each other. In this second video, you can see the ball of light is over the same domed building as the before, and abruptly flies straight up. I will admit that the UFO in the first video looks a little different than the UFO in the second video, but I think the first video was recorded with a digital camera, and the second was recorded with a cell phone from almost a decade ago, so that would explain the visual discrepancies. Britton Smith is hanging around her dorm room when she notices something is apparently laying in bed with her. An invisible force appears to be pressing up and down on the flowery design of her covers, right before her very eyes. I will admit that it's hard to tell if something is on top of the covers or simply underneath, in which case it could be anything and not necessarily paranormal. Britton Smith describes this as a ghost in her dorm room, but I'd like to know if you agree with her or not. A janitor is closing up a restaurant in San Francisco called The Chapel, which is said to be haunted by the ghost of a small girl. As soon as he is done locking the door, something tries to leave and then runs away. If she was afraid of getting locked in, why didn't she bang on the door to be let out? Also, how come she didn't say anything when all of the lights turned off? On the contrary, if this was instead a real person trying to sneak in, then she probably wouldn't immediately try to open the door because it could set off an alarm. I guess she could just be making sure the janitor really is leaving, but since this restaurant is said to be haunted by the ghost of a small girl, I believe this could be her. On December 17th, 2008, 4 17-year-old boys were found passed away in their car at an abandoned farm 10 miles from their hometown. This clip's description reads, published in 2009 by Indran Cole 3. No Through Road is allegedly the last remaining footage of the boys alive. The found footage involves 4 boys from Stevenage, Hertfordshire. According to the clip, the residence near where these boys were found was thought to be abandoned, but when police investigated, it appeared to have recent inhabitants. According to the video, the footage was released with the parents' consent in order to garner any leads in the investigation. The footage shows your average British teens out driving around at around 4 in the morning. They get lost on the dark back roads, and their GPS has stopped working. One of the boys gets out of the car, but then he looks terrified and races back to the passenger seat screaming, "Drive!" He claims there is someone wearing a mask. After driving off again, the boys get in a fight about where they're going. They seem to find their way, and then they suddenly get lost again, and are nearing a tunnel with signage that says, "Private road, no through way." They stall in the road, wondering what to do. Suddenly, there's a man standing in the middle of the road in their headlights. He starts walking towards them, and the boys don't live to tell their tale. But this footage does. Of course, most of the replies on posts of this video on the export mention that this is a short film, but that doesn't make it any less scary. There's a famous pub in Sydney, Australia called the Carlisle Castle Hotel. For years, this local watering hole has been haunted by the ghost of Old Pete, a bitter ex-employee who left the earth quite some time ago, but not his job. His ghostly antics have been caught on camera no less than 3 times. The first time Pete was caught on tape, he was helping a customer. The unsuspecting man opens the door to the cooler when Pete decides to grab 2 bottles of red wine for himself. His ghost grip must have not been too tight though, because both bottles go crashing to the floor. Looking at the footage, there's no way that the shelf gave out or anything like that. The bottles were thrown to the ground with deliberate force with no one nearby. Another incident occurred when the bar was full of witnesses. Everyone is happily enjoying themselves when a hanging red wine glass suddenly dislodges itself and smashes into the counter. Glass shards fly everywhere and the entire bar takes notice. Although this could have simply been a freak accident, what are the chances that, of all the red wine glasses, the one that's directly underneath the server happens to be the one to fall and break? The timing is almost too perfect to be a coincidence. Old Pete strikes again. The third and final tape reveals a glimpse of Old Pete himself. The bar is empty this time when the angry ghost suddenly materializes in front of the security camera. If you look closely, you can make out Old Pete's head at the bottom of the screen. He appears to be waving. Many other bartenders and customers all claim to have seen Old Pete for themselves in one way or another. It isn't uncommon for tapes to turn on by themselves, and the bartenders have seen what they can only describe as strange things while counting down their registers after close. To make this all even stranger, all of the bottles that go crashing to the floor are always high-end red wines. This just so happened to be Old Pete's favorite drink, at least when he was still with the living. The CCTV video of Hannah Graham was taken on the night of her disappearance. You can see her walking in the background from right to left with a man tagging along behind her. Here is a closer look at Jesse Matthews, the man responsible for taking her life. Police used this video and other similar footage to determine that Jesse approached Hannah and had a conversation. Police dogs detected Hannah's scent on the door of Jesse's car and around a dumpster near Jesse's house. They got a search warrant and found her belongings inside. Police used Jesse's DNA to link him to another woman named Morgan Harrington, whose body was discovered years earlier. Jesse was sentenced to life for these horrifying actions. Chris Moon is a paranormal expert who travels around the country, demonstrating the metaphysical properties of the spirit world. This time he is using a spirit box at the Cornell College in Iowa, when suddenly a student's jewelry does something I've never seen before.
My necklace? It's moving. Can we get this? Relax, everybody don't crowd her, please. We get it, we're filming, it's okay.
Her necklace starts going berserk as the spirit apparently tries to get her attention. She then hears a familiar voice come across the spirit box and immediately bursts into tears. The voice talking to her, she believes, was an old volleyball coach who passed away.
Gleich wanted me to tell you hi. He misses you so much.
Chris Moon says aw and points to the box when he hears it. This video certainly captured some convincing evidence of the spirit world that Chris is trying to prove exists. When somebody quits their job, they are supposed to give them a 2-week notice. This contractor gets very angry at his job site and gives a 2-second notice instead in the form of total carnage. He shows little regard for the safety of a co-worker who is trying to talk some sense into him as he repeatedly slams the heavy equipment into the same spot over and over again, bringing down chunks of ceiling each time. Fortunately, he seems more concerned with wrecking the property rather than taking lives. Although he is lucky he didn't bring the entire place down on everyone. A YouTuber named Mr. Technical Difficult and his friends are hanging out by a river When they see an old abandoned cooler on the other side, they don't pay much attention to it at first, but after a while they grow curious as to what could possibly be inside. Finally, they can't take the suspense anymore and decide to retrieve the floating container. What they find inside is troubling.
Open the hatch.
They remove an excessive amount of masking tape and pop the lid only to see a black-eyed doll peering back at them. The creepy doll is dressed in red suspenders and its head is turned directly towards the camera. No one knows what to make of this unsettling discovery, and they all stand around for a bit laughing nervously. To this day, the group has absolutely no explanation as to how or why this doll was sealed and sent down the river, or more importantly, who is responsible for this strange message. Something has been lurking outside of this YouTuber's tent since 2 in the morning. Now it's 6:15 a.m. and the creature is more interested in getting inside more than ever. The cameraman timidly peeks out from his tent and spots a tall, muscular lion pacing back and forth. It seems particularly interested in the tent across from them, which fortunately is uninhabited. Eventually, the lion gains access to the adjacent tent and raids it for supplies. I'm not sure if he found anything or not, but eventually the lion walks off a short while later. I have little doubt that he could smell these humans and knew he was on the other side the entire time, but I guess the lion wasn't sure if he was a formidable opponent or not, and ultimately decided to leave him alone. The man breathes a sigh of relief and quickly packs up. Otherwise known as the Hybrid Man, this intimidating giant grew up in a rural peasant village not too long ago. Though skeptics believe that this man simply suffered from a genetic disease, all we have to rely on for sure is the legend of his birth as told by his mother. Here's what she says happened to her. One day, a huge and savage humanoid snatched her from her village and took her to his lair against her will. The wild man spoke no language and appeared to have no part in civilization. Instead, choosing to live deep in the wild on its own, he forced himself on her many times for days on end, and soon she became pregnant with his son. She eventually escaped back to her village and 9 months later gave birth.
So the story goes that the boy's mother had claimed she was kidnapped by a Yirin, which is a Chinese version of Bigfoot.
Her giant humanoid offspring never seemed to adjust well in human society. Our complex social mannerisms were too foreign for him to grasp. He could likewise not speak any Chinese, but he did grow to understand a few basic commands. Other than a few instances of brief interactions with people, his gestures were purely animalistic in nature. He ate like a wild animal and squatted on his haunches instead of sitting like a man. He died at the age of 33 and was quickly forgotten by the community. The footage was discovered much later, and the Hybrid Man's story soon grew into the internet legend that we know it as today. When researchers went to the village to learn more, however, there was little information to be found. Though theories abound, his true origin remains a mystery to this day. This video, taken at the North Dallas High School in Texas by a YouTuber named Smart Dolphin, captures a very hard to find figure at the end. I've highlighted the possible ghost so that you can see it more easily. This is without a doubt the colorless outline of a human. You can see his feet shift a little bit as he changes his stance if you look closely enough. With this in mind, the question becomes whether or not this person was living when this video was recorded. I guess it wouldn't be too hard to make somebody look all gray like this with some decent editing equipment, but let me know if you think this is a genuine ghost or just a fake. A YouTuber named Stirrin's Wild World is grabbing some firewood from a pile when she notices something small and dangerous moving from within. You probably don't see anything, and neither did I at first. Without some hesitation, she carefully uses a grabbing stick to extract the beast from its hiding spot.
More venom. More venom!
It's not just any cobra, it's a cobra that actually spits venom. The sight fills her with fear and fascination. Watch as she keeps its mouth pointed away from her as she examines its body. She is giving some basic information about the species when it somehow slips past her guard. It doesn't look like she loosens her grip at all, but rather the snake flattens its jaws and slides through.
Okay, the reason why I'm in love. Whoa!
She manages to snag it by the tail again and moves backwards as the snake comes at her, spitting venom all the while. The video ends before she gets a chance to release it, but based on how it's aggressively moving towards her, I have no idea how she plans to get away. A motorcyclist named Motor 2 Wrist is biking through India when he misses his turn and gets lost. Now it's threatening to rain and his bike's narrow high beams are his only source of light. Motor 2 Wrist is already close to losing his composure when he sees something that pushes him completely over the edge. Some stranger rushes at him from the side of the road. Keep in mind that it's 10 at night and there's apparently no villages around for miles. The pedestrian would have to be out of their mind to travel down a dark road in bad weather without so much as a flashlight to guide their way. Moto 2 Wrist is positive that he's seen a ghost and quickly speeds off, though it might have been someone in distress. We'll never know what the situation was for sure, but I'd like to get your opinion nonetheless. When a drone drifted over a residential area in Overland Park, two boys on bikes spotted it overhead, and that's when they jumped off their bikes to have a go at it. You can see one of the kids pick something up, I'm assuming a rock, but the drone is much too high up to actually knock it down. The kids follow it for a while, but don't come close enough to truly taking it down, although they make a valiant effort to do so. Eventually they give up, but the drone doesn't. It continues to follow them for a good 8 minutes, with the boys getting fed up enough every now and then to stop and throw more rocks. Certainly a scary and bizarre encounter for both parties involved. YouTubers The Proper People published this exploration of an abandoned psychiatric hospital in April of this year, 2018. The psych hospital was built in the 1800s for poor folks who couldn't afford healthcare and has been abandoned for more than 2 decades. The place certainly looks old. Whole pieces of wallpaper are chipping from the walls. Below the hospital are tunnels connecting to the surrounding buildings. The crew didn't enter the tunnels because unlike the psychiatric hospital, those buildings are still in use, but they did come upon a fallout shelter. Many of the rooms they come across are empty, some are locked, making the crew and their viewers curious about what's inside. But perhaps the most curious rooms are those with piles of the psych's hospital supplies and equipment. Chairs, tables, walkers, buckets, mattresses all thrown together in one place. They even encounter an old green tub with an adjacent seat used to lift disabled patients in for bathing. And further on, they arrive at half of an elevator car. For some reason, there's something so unsettling about an open elevator shaft and an elevator not where it's supposed to be, Michael says. It gives you a bad feeling. Well, Michael, this whole place gives us a bad feeling, so I'm going to stay as far away from that hospital as possible. This restaurant is said to have a spirit who refuses to resign from their position even in the afterlife. Late at night, a phantom white image is caught hovering above tables, presumably to take orders and refill drinks. At the 42-second mark, it looks like it turns and extends an arm to put down a check or wipe off a table before abruptly flying away. YouTuber This Is Dan Bell explored a creepy apocalyptic-looking hospital in May of 2016. The hospital in question must have been a Christian hospital, as there is a cross on the front of the building. From the outside looking in, the place does live up to its title. The windows are darkened, and it's clearly empty and in disrepair. Upon entering, Dan finds a storage room filled with broken chairs. The room alongside it is covered in garbage and remnants of the past. Closer inspection of the garbage that lines the floor shows that this place was a dumping ground for needles, or perhaps it is still used as one. Hypodermic needles completely cover one section of the floor, an enormous stockpile of them. As they explore the place further, they run into that singular image of a single wheelchair in a dark hallway that we've seen so much on this list, and in another hallway a single stretcher. This time though, neither moves. Perhaps this hospital isn't haunted like the others, which is strange because it looks like a ghost prime haunting grounds. The exploration does turn up other interesting things as well, but it's mainly a series of long, dark, scary hallways and rooms strewn with filth. This old VHS tape of a girl dancing is definitely paranormal, at least if you believe what the uploader Sharon Bailey has to say. First, an orb floats up towards the child between the 13 and 14 second mark. Shortly afterwards, a strange mist fills the air. Maybe it's something else, but I'm not sure because it seems to specifically wrap itself around the child. The last part is what has Sharon convinced that this is paranormal. She says that there were no other children in the house, but 31 seconds into the video, another little girl runs by at full speed. Her footsteps don't make a single sound. Take a listen. The camera was picking up little coughs and other background noise, so it definitely should have recorded running footsteps. Also, neither the dancing girl nor the dog seem to notice anyone is running straight towards them. This huge wall of security monitors shows that everything in this building is silent, and still except for a single sign going haywire. I've seen signs twisting around from the air conditioning before, but this looks a little different. The back and forth swaying seems very deliberate, almost as if an invisible force is hanging off of it. I don't have much more information about this video, aside from it taking place somewhere in Singapore. Let me know what you think of it. As the legend goes, the Saratoga light appears on haunted Bragg Road, a dirt road in southeast Texas. Many witnesses have observed the ghost light, with some believing it has paranormal origins due to a legendary railway incident in which a railroad worker lost his head. He is now believed to search for it in the night, carrying his lantern. Published by The Vortex in October of 2018, this scary video sees the man search for the mysterious Saratoga light. During their 8-mile drive along the creepy ghost road, the paranormal investigators eventually start to see a beam of light. They stop along the dirt road and get out to capture the light, which they think might be a car, and it does turn out to be a vehicle as they discover when they drive ahead, but at the same time they said they caught a mysterious light behind them which disappeared, a bright glowing red one. The eerie light doesn't seem to be far off. Many in the comments claim to have seen the light firsthand along this road. YouTuber 5th Gen Texan Texas Forever writes that he saw it years ago while walking along the road in the dark. He explains, "It appeared suddenly right in front of us, zipped away and came back really quickly, then disappeared again right in our faces. While this glowing red doesn't appear to zip away, the many confirmed sightings of the Saratoga light certainly make me consider believing." Though there are plenty of strange noises caught on tape, this one is as scary as it is mysterious. Published by Jimmy Dillard in June of 2013, Dillard left his camera in the forest to capture deer. Instead, he captured some strange screaming, grunting, and rocks being thrown at his camera. While Dillard thought it might just be children playing around or a homeless man disturbing the forest, we'll never know the truth because the source of the sound and disturbance never appeared on camera. In watching the video, you can hear a bellow echo throughout the wilderness, almost Tarzan-like in nature. Later in the video, you hear tree branches breaking. Then, one of the most chilling noises is that of a growl or a bark. The thing sounds human, but not quite. You can hear whatever it is clamber through the leaves and branches. The whole video is quite unsettling, almost more upsetting, because you can't see the source of the sound. Although, from the sounds of it, the creature must be very near. You expect it to jump out at you at any moment. I've been hiking and camping since I was little, and I've heard just about every animal in Georgia, but I've never heard anything like this, Dillard wrote. One thing to keep in mind is that elk and moose don't inhabit this region, but could it be some other animal? Which leaves us to wonder what in the world is residing in this forest. This alien-like creature perplexed everyone when the footage was released to the public sometime in 2008. Shell Company says they caught it on video hanging around one of their oil platforms about 200 miles from Houston, Texas. It was eventually identified as a long-legged sea creature called the Magna pinna squid. But even to this day, many videos still insist that this is evidence of alien life. As such, I just wanted to include this squid on the list to put the rumor to rest. Jonathan Savo published this video in January 2015. After visiting his girlfriend in a Paris hospital, he wrote that a woman in the next bed was roaring and screeching with the voice of a devil, and that's what the video captures. The woman is seen lying flat in a bed, speaking in a raspy, evil voice. She is harassing the couple, calling them tacky and ugly, and telling them they're all going to die. Although you can only see her profile in the video, and you can't see her mouth moving, what you can see is her chest rising and falling as she delivers her angry tirade of insults and threats. She then says she's going to call her mafia friend, after which she claims she's going to remove her IV drip so they can get out of the hospital. That's where the clip ends, leaving us wondering if the woman did in fact try to escape, but John doesn't leave us hanging. In his own words, he wrote, "I was no longer filming when she or it started to get up and wanted to take the life of a person sitting next to her. 5 nurses came in to stop her, and we were asked to leave the room quickly. What happened next, John doesn't know. Prior to this experience, John says he was skeptical about demonic possessions and everything related to them, but after seeing one in the flesh, he's a believer." Here's a strange dashcam video from Malaysia that will leave you scratching your head. These motorists are on a dark road when they pass by a woman in a pink shirt once, and then again, a little farther up the road, and a third time, at which point they are noticeably alarmed and speed away, only to run straight into her a fourth and final time. Watch the full video and you'll see that they are not driving in a circle. Even if they were driving in a circle, there's no way they could have completed a full lap in the short time it takes for the woman to appear again. Perhaps what's most unsettling about this is how each time the woman's back is turned to them, never once seeing her face. This New Orleans restaurant called Tableau's is thought to be haunted by a ghost who will punish you for what it perceives as any bad beverage selections. Here a waiter is preparing the room for a private party and has finished stocking the refreshments when coincidentally, the bottles all fly off the shelf and land in the exact area he had just finished sweeping. 3 separate comments in this video further verify that this restaurant is quite haunted. One person said the window in this very same room unlatched itself, another said the fire alarm went off on its own, and a third person said they are never going there again because the spirit was staring at them. These comments, combined with this video evidence, is enough to build a strong case for the paranormal in my opinion, but let me know what you think. This cemetery footage was taken over 10 years ago, and the owner was looking over it at random when he noticed a humanoid object in the background for the first time. As the camera pans over the tombstone, you can see something rushing out from the background. As soon as the cameraman noticed this, he enhances the footage and slows it down to make sure his eyes weren't deceiving him. To his amazement, the adjustment only made things even more clear. This is what he saw. This strange sighting has since caused a huge debate online as to whether or not this humanoid was a gray alien or a ghoul. Many people point out that aliens aren't really seen in the cemetery, but ghouls on the other hand. Who knows what other kinds of humanoids have been accidentally caught on tape, waiting to be discovered. A home with a history of passings is sometimes best kept empty. At least, that's what the Hernandez family discovered when they saw something hidden in their security footage. Prior to moving into this home, they were told by a man who knew about the property that their house had a history. According to Brianna Hernandez, he said that several years ago, his uncle had a house on this corner lot, and his uncle passed away. The house remained unoccupied for a time before it was leveled, and new duplexes were built over top of it. While her husband was concerned about ghosts, Brianna was a cynic, that is until she saw the surveillance footage. The Hernandez family was having dinner on a Tuesday night when her husband looked over at the security camera footage just as a strange image appeared on screen. As soon as I saw it, my hair stood up. I've never seen anything like that before, Brianna said. Well, she didn't see the image at the time of its appearance. Her husband quickly asked if a person had appeared, and they all went to check it out. The image did indeed appear to be a person, but not one of this world. The entire family, even the cynic Brianna, believe it is a ghost. The image, she says, is bright, and the arms and legs of the figure are moving as it passes through. What do you think? Is this glider a ghost? If not, what could it be? This video could very well be proof that the humanoid kingdom extends into the insect world. At first glance, this video appears to be a firefly or some similar sort of bug, but when slowed down frame by frame, you can clearly see that this is not a bug at all, but rather appears to be a tiny winged humanoid. The video shows an insect-like humanoid with clearly discernible arms and legs. Unlike most bugs, this humanoid only has 4 limbs, and the arms appear to be twice as short as the legs, much like a person. There's simply no insect on Earth like it. It's just too bad the lighting conditions don't provide more detail, because it would have been interesting to see more of its face and overall color patterns. Exactly where this video was shot is not known. These friends are too busy gathering around a campfire to notice something is scampering behind them.
Well, you've been sharpening it for like 2 hours.
Just out of reach. Watch it again.
Well, you've been sharpening it for like 2 hours.
The furless creature moves on all fours in an unnatural way that resembles no forest animal I've ever seen before. If it's not computer-generated imagery, then perhaps this is footage of the rake or some other forest beast. Strange lights in the sky are being reported all over northeast Colorado. Unexplained events caught on video like this one by Jennifer Rollins, who all of a sudden noticed only one star in the whole entire sky, one that was directly above her and way too close, and she got out her camera to record it.
That is a drone. That is so creepy.
The mysterious light does look out of place when you think about it. There are no other stars in the sky, and Jennifer is not moving the camera at all. The strange light moves back and forth by itself, but is it a surveillance drone or something not of this world?
And it's hard to see with this camera, but there are red and white flashing lights on it.
This different recording taken by a woman named Dawn George does indeed show a sky full of mysterious flashing red lights. I have no idea what these could be, and neither does the federal government. They are investigating and have come up with no answers thus far. So either this is a top secret program, or it's something else that we were never meant to see. The eyes appear to belong to some sort of nocturnal predator. They reflect so much light that all you can see are 2 gigantic white dots that are roughly as wide around as flashlights. The humanoid does not appear to have much experience with humans, and seems apprehensive as it peers around the corner. It decides to run away, and the cheap camera cuts out before we can see any more of the chase. The creature seems incredibly fast and probably got away, but exactly what happened next is anyone's guess. The video footage survived, so the cameraman probably did as well. Then again, maybe they recovered it from his dead body instead. There's just not enough information out there to say for sure. What's scarier than a child ghost? A child ghost at a hospital, that's what. When hospital staff saw the ghost of a child at their hospital 10 times over only a few hours, they were left shivering in their scrubs. Cordoba Children's Hospital in Argentina, it is claimed. The hospital staff weren't even going to let the ghost leave peacefully. Instead, they were determined to interact with it. Some say they place balloons in the location where it's routinely seen, and those balloons always burst on their own, and one nurse was even more determined to capture the young child on camera. She claims to have succeeded in capturing him or her playing hide-and-go-seek. In the video, the specter is crouching behind a bed, which had been left out overnight in the hallway. The cot had a sheet tucked over top of it. A nurse caught the ghost on camera as she saw the child ghost peer from behind the sheet. While some skeptics don't believe the hype, other visitors and hospital employees say they've seen this child ghost too. Moreover, not all viewers agree that there's anything in this video, while others say there's certainly a creepy shadow to the right of the cot. The ghost's nickname is the Ghost of 500, and legend has it that this child ghost is the soul of a patient who passed away in room 500. The corridor where it was caught on camera is no longer in use, and it links to the children's wards. What would you do if a child showed up at your doorstep at night? Posted to TikTok by Shane King 85, who said it was from his neighbor's security camera. This Ring video was captured at 3:30 in the morning. The video looks outside onto the front doorstep. A young girl in a nightgown walks up to the door and knocks, looking into a side window. It appears she is alone, although some have said they see someone lurking in the darkness behind her. After peeking in at the other side of the door, the girl runs off after an alarm detects motion. She wanders into the darkness. Most everyone in the comments tells the TikToker to call 911. Others think that it could have been a setup. Was this girl in trouble of some kind? Or was someone nefarious using her as a decoy to try and break into the home? It's certainly a scary thought in my opinion. But maybe it's neither. Perhaps it was just a case of ding-dong ditch. Two girls are alone in their house when one of them sees something in the doorway. Pause the video and you can see it's clearly the upper half of a young girl who is dressed in old-fashioned clothes from another time period. She is floating in midair as she curiously peeks in on the two children to see what they are doing. One of the girls still doesn't see the ghost. She shouts at something that's on television and accidentally startles the ghost away. The girl with the camera follows the ghost as it retreats. The ghost instantly teleports and now stares at them from the top of the steps. The scared girls run out of the house screaming. They stop only for a second to turn around from the street. They can see the ghost girl walking across the left window on the top floor. It vanishes and then suddenly appears on the bottom floor in less than a second. They scream even louder and take off again. Are we being possessed by shadowy forces without even knowing it? Posted on Blah Blah's channel in January of 2022. This scary video is trending in the Arabic-speaking YouTube community. The footage shows a woman walking a dirt path along a hillside overlooking a city. She is carrying a bag and she's alone. As the cameraman follows a short way behind, a mysterious and barely visible dark figure comes toward the woman on the path. The shadow figure runs right at the woman, but she doesn't notice it and continues on her way. Did the spirit possess her? Well, this captured our imaginations. As it turns out, after doing some research, I found the video is VFX produced by YouTuber Dark3. Still, the image will prompt you to look over your shoulder the next time you think you're alone. You never know what's behind you until it's too late. This North Carolina sewer video was uploaded by Ryan Morris in 2009. And eventually made its way to 4chan. The life form looks like the inside of a body, not the outside of any organism. It relaxes and contracts, moving in the way the lungs or heart might, and it grows like a blob on the walls of the sewer. I don't know what it is, but it's certainly disturbing. What do you think this unknown life form is? Could it be extraterrestrial? Maybe. Many 4chaners claimed it's a type of worm. Whatever the case, it certainly is a scary sight. This exotic bat with an overdeveloped face first found in Kenya could be the carrier of many bad things animal wildlife officials fear. Its large head does not look like any bat ever seen before, and its eyes look very big as well. You don't get to see its teeth out, but I can only assume they are as massive as the rest of its cranium. To make matters worse, most of these strange bats start to appear throughout the area. No one knows where they came from or what has caused them to have such mutated features. If this new species does carry some sort of strange disease, I really hope they are able to quarantine it and keep it from spreading to other parts of the world. Julia Merfeld gets into a stranger's car and they introduce themselves.
So I guess we got a little business to discuss.
Yeah. She is interviewing a hitman for hire. They discuss payment, a good date and time, and the target, Jacob, her husband. The conversation becomes increasingly creepy as they get into the finer details of the job.
You don't want him to suffer, so I'll make it quick and clean. Perfect. I mean, I can do it any way you want me to, but I just want to know how you want it done.
Really, whatever's easiest. If you can get him outside, that would be great. Because it would be messy in the house.
They later have a second meeting finalizing the plan. After showing the hitman a picture of the target, Julia starts talking about why she is having this done.
As terrible as it sounds, it was easier than divorcing him. You know, I didn't have to worry about the judgment of my family. I didn't have to worry about breaking his heart. Stuff like this. It's like kind of like a clean getaway. I mean, it's going to be.
I'm just gonna take him head on there, and I'm gonna shoot him right in the face. Okay.
Little does Julia know that she is actually talking to an undercover officer, and these two videos contain all the evidence they need to put her away. The judge gave Julia a sentence of between 5 and 20 years. Let me know if you agree with this decision, or if you would have given a harsher sentence. Is this the work of the legendary magician Hashina, published in September of 2021? This scary video is tantalizing. While I don't have the full context, the short clip shows some men sitting around a room. Some of the men are chanting. What are they trying to do? Exorcise someone of a possession? I'm not sure. But as the group sits there, a creepy shadow figure emerges from behind a door's fogged glass window. It rises, and there doesn't seem to be enough room behind the door for something to remain otherwise hidden. What's going on here? Is it some sort of ritual? Don't close your eyes, because when you wake up tonight, this thing will be waiting for you. This video was brought to my attention on the Chills Narrator subreddit by a user named Ryan Coolvids. The baby monitor of a family in Michigan catches a transparent figure briskly walking by the crib of their sleeping daughter. Moments later, the toddler's head pokes out to see if one of their parents is in the room, but they are nowhere near. Weirdest and most frightening of all is how you can see the figure literally vanishes seconds after it walks by the crib. It crosses the room and then it disappears before it gets to the doorway, almost like an emotionally charged event destined to repair itself without end. This rare footage of a sewer monster is brief, but frightening. The video seems to capture a glimpse of something large with a tail launching around the underground. The black and white adds to the creepiness of the footage, when suddenly something the size of a kangaroo moves swiftly past and out of sight. Although not quite as unsettling in movement as a creepy critter might be, whatever this strange being is, it looks completely out of place in the sewage system. Any idea what this strange creature could be? This amateur footage was shot somewhere in an underground sewage system. The cameraman is presumably a maintenance worker who is wearing a chest cam. Little did he expect to find a humanoid down there with him. The video begins with the cameraman seemingly frozen in place. The camera is very still, as if the maintenance worker is too afraid to move. Maybe he heard a noise and is waiting for a creature to reveal itself. Suddenly, a pair of floating eyes peer at him from the distance. Who is following the Ogden paranormal crew around this haunted hospital? Published in July of 2020, these paranormal investigators are exploring Linda Vista Hospital in East Los Angeles. The first activity spotted are some strange lights in a darkened hallway. The lights look almost like reflective eyes. They twinkle in the darkness. Later, as they're exploring, an unexplained laugh is heard.
So you can do that again for me?
What happened?
The cameraman wonders if it's a dog, but it sure doesn't sound like one. They continue, but then one of the crew shrieks.
What? What happened? What happened? What happened? Talk to us. You gotta tell us. What happened? What'd you see?
That flipping door closed.
What? No.
She says one of the doors up ahead closed. Is there a spirit hanging around this hospital? Hopefully it has good intentions. Sophie Dosey is a talented contortionist with a twisted sense of humor, so to speak. Here she does a crab walk backwards at top speeds with her head barely hanging above the floor. This is a really creative, ingenious way to scare people that I've never seen done before, but I can't help but think it's a little dangerous too. I mean, if she steps on her hair while walking like this, her neck could snap all the way back. Maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I think I see it almost happen multiple times as she races down the aisle, which adds a whole new level of fear to the overall situation. Brennan Taylor published this video in July of 2017, writing, "We explored the forest to the depths of where normal hikers are not allowed to go. The things we saw changed us and we will never be the same. We decided it would be a good idea to play the Kukuri-san, which is basically the Japanese equivalent to the Ouija board. First, the man filming asks the board if they're going to run into a body that night, and the board answers 4. Being that there were 4 members in the group, this response must have sent a chill up each of their spines. When asking the spirit if they should be in the forest, the spirit answers no. At one point, one of the crew notes that moths are a sign of the afterlife, and they are all over the place, even landing on the board. They also notice scratch marks on a nearby tree, which seem to indicate that somebody clawed at it, in the shape of an X. They next ask the spirit if they'll find someone that very night. The answer, yes. When they finally decide to leave the forest, they've lost the coin that is used as a planchette. According to the Kukuri-san, one of them must spend the coin within 24 hours of playing, or otherwise there's bad consequences. They backtrack to look for the coin, but the coin is never found. What will happen? Will they have 70 years of bad luck? It's hard to know for sure. All we do know is that they survived to tell the tale and post it on YouTube. Put on your bowling shoes. Published by Joe MC in June of 2021. A mysterious bright light is roaming the lanes of this bowling alley. The light is seen hovering distantly into a lane to the far left for a minute, before shooting to the right. The twinkling light pauses for a moment in one lane before shooting left again. It hovers there and flies about a minute more before the clip ends. What is this strange light? Is it the soul of a bowling enthusiast? If it is, I hope he gets a strike. This home security video shows 2 bright orbs hovering over some bikes in Carolina Beecher's front yard. She watches in silent amazement as the lights remain fixed in place, close to where you would grab the handlebars. The only explanation I have besides spirits is perhaps a dual reflection of the car's brake lights. That still doesn't explain how they float all around though, while the car lights remain stationary. At times the lights even seem to join together and become one. Some ghosts just want a little attention. This one apparently isn't getting enough. Published by Jeff Miller in April of 2018. Watch closely as this ghost takes his revenge in this family's kitchen. Something flies off the wall shortly into the video that the uploader says is a picture. Having heard the disturbance, the home's resident enters the frame, heading into the kitchen. Did he come face to face with his ghost roommate? Unlikely, but maybe he should take the hint. The roommate wants the house to himself. This YouTuber is recording the wall of his school when an all-white face peeks out from around the corner. When he goes to investigate, the supposed spirit is completely gone. The spirit itself looks very blurry and is probably CGI, although I could very well be wrong. Maybe someone with more knowledge on special effects could give me more info. The shadows are coming for you. Published by ILM and Bono Paranormal in July of 2021. This creepy clip shows you are never as alone as you think. A man is walking through an abandoned building and his camera scans the room. Look carefully in the window pane. A shadow figure passes by, outlined against the glass. It's unclear if the figure is outside walking past or inside being reflected, but all I do know is the cameraman has company. If I were him, I'd be getting out of there ASAP. A gut feeling, a sensation is almost worse than the reality itself. Say you're alone in the forest, the hair stands up on the back of your neck, you get the sensation that something is watching you. What do you do? Druid Raven Scout published this video in August of 2015, explaining this very scenario. Well, he packed up his bags to leave the forest. He said he felt something that he couldn't explain, a gut feeling that something or someone was following him. He said he felt threatening sensations as he walked the path over a couple of hours. He had planned on staying in the forest another night, but his intuition was telling him not to. During the 18-minute video, he explains that he feels like he's being observed. He also says he heard something strange up in the trees as he walked the path earlier. He does manage to escape the forest without meeting his stalker, but not without shaking the feeling that something certainly was watching. Aokihara, also known as the Sea of Trees, is an infamous Japanese forest. Well, there are certain areas that are so dense that a feeling of solitude exists there like nowhere else. Sound is also absorbed, allowing for a kind of quiet you've never heard. Yuri, ghosts of the past away from Japanese myths and legends, reside in this forest. Needless to say, the place is grim, and it becomes even more grim when you bring a Ouija board and attempt to talk to the spirits. This evil image comes from a clip of unknown origins, captured in the stairwell of a half-constructed brick building. A figure draped in a dirty white sheet stands hunched slightly at the top of a flight of stairs, facing a corner. The figure's matted hair is dark, its skin is grayish, and it appears to have no arms. Without a source, the scary image has left a mystery, one to haunt our imaginations. I'm not sure what the figure might be doing, facing the corner, and why they might be in what looks to be an abandoned building to begin with. This one left me with more questions than answers, and the mystery remains. A YouTuber named Sans the Skeleton 101 thinks he may have seen a monster lurking in his yard. The out-of-focus object looks like it could be a creature on all fours, but I'm just not sure. It doesn't really seem to be moving, and could just easily be a pile of dirt. Whatever it is, it sends Sans the Skeleton 101 running back into his house in terror. Let me know what you think it was, and if you think he was really in any significant danger at the time. This driveway ghost likes to mess around. Published by Scary and Mysterious Stuff in March of 2021, CCTV footage caught something scary and mysterious in this driveway. The video shows a rock flung or kicked onto the driveway from something off camera. A moment later, a ball bounces into view from a space to the side of the drive. It rolls around for a moment before coming to a standstill. Then a chair scrapes forward and is leaning off of the step back and forth before being flung forward onto the drive. Sounds are heard out of sight, followed by a small footstool thrown into view from the same storage space. A strange shadow is seen on the back wall, floating in the air. It moves into frame and hovers before retreating back again. Then a fuller shadow figure makes its way into the picture. Rather, it looks like a strange creature crouched down is casting a large shadow against the wall. The floating figure appears again higher up on the wall. Were these mysterious beings causing the poltergeist activity? I guess we'll never know for sure. Common knowledge that animals are very sensitive to spirits cigarettes. This woman's dog seems to have detected something supernatural near the stairs. Published by Exploring with Felicity in December of 2021, this scary video captured a mysterious full-body apparition on camera. After her dog wouldn't approach the stairs, even for his ball, Felicity set up a security camera to see what was going on. Here's what she found. In a corner of the hallway near the stairs, an apparition appears for a moment. It moves around and then disappears before reappearing again and turning in place. It looks like a woman with long hair or a veil wearing a long dressing gown. The apparition disappears and reappears once more, much closer to the camera, but it looks like she's bent over this time and standing up, her hair hanging over her head. The image really gives me the chills. Is this a ghost nun, as some are suggesting in the comments? I'm not sure if that's the case, but whatever she is, she certainly doesn't seem very friendly.